early this year in the tank role and in the past, is moving back to the tank role. And Tomster, T-God, as he was once known in that ranged carry role, is back there. I did ask him, are we going to see any Greymane? He said, I wish Greymane was better right now. It might have been in different words. But rest assured, T-God might be coming back here soon as we get this draft underway.
I sure hope so here, because No Tomorrow very much need to be able to display signs of life here, coming back from the break that we got between Part 1 and Part 2. That is a huge amount of change. As you said, it is unprecedented. We have not seen this level of role swapping, at least not in one time within a 5-man roster. So I can't help but feel like, Jay-How, if we were to open this up on, the dread skepticism levels between the running our own meta and role swapping 3 people, I definitely feel more, kind of timid here for No Tomorrow. I feel like they have a lot to prove, but I'm excited to see what they have happen. But I feel like that means from the world of analysis and draft, I have no idea what this roster is going to break out.
Question mark, question mark, question. I'm sure a lot of people have question marks, maybe even in chat at times. But Yrel, that's not a question mark. We know her strength on Dragonshire. We saw Dehaka banned out, taking away one of the globals. That has been the Dehaka Falstad style that we've seen. Jay Shrite moving over to the flex role will likely be on that Maiev. That's one thing that we can almost bank on with some of these changes. So that is something, as we get further and further down this, we do have to adapt. But for a team like No Tomorrow, it's a team in transition. And then you look at Octalysis, who said, we're looking to play our own meta again. There could be some transition periods there as well.
Well, a good way to kind of move down your own avenue there is with that Medivh, not only because the portal kind of avenue he will produce, but just he's a hero that the playstyle, if you are very coordinated with him, and the demand of the respect that you can get out of your opponent is colossal. I feel like if you are truly ever going to be a team that is going to go down the route of we want to play our own playstyle, if you are masters of Medivh, you have already a huge advantage within a majority of these drafts. So it's cool to see that here from Octalysis on a map like Dragonshire too, where you can really gain advantages with some clever portal play. Phoenix will be taken off the table though here for No Tomorrow. They got a lot of kill potential and lockdown when it comes to their 4-man, but not so much when looking at its wave clear, which normally, especially now that the Medivh's picked up, something you got to be looking at.
Yeah, so the Phoenix taken away there. We know, and we actually saw Draded step his play up tremendously at the Clash, starting to move in towards that flex roll. There was too many times, even as that's a quick pickup of Raynor and Johanna there. So wave clear definitely there on the side of No Tomorrow. Octalysis still has a lot to go. But the one thing that we saw too much of from Octalysis, there was one series where both Draded and Prismat both played the same role in that flex melee. And it was too much. And they've narrowed that in, and I think Draded on the Medivh is something that definitely comes to mind.
Okay.
We've got ourselves a Zul and a Tychus. This is a solo tank Zul.
It's a solo tank Yrel?
I'm just
I don't know.
No. Look, I told you they were going to play their own meta. I didn't expect this right out of the gate.
Yeah, this is a little different than just your own meta, Jay-How. This is going down the rabbit hole here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a composition and playstyle that pretty much died with BHB within the competitive map pool. And if you're saying, Dread, BHB's never been in the competitive map pool, that is because, yes, this also has never been there. This is a playstyle where you get the Zul offlane split push, where you get a lot of pressure within the 4-man of the portal plays for ganking opportunities within 3-2 splits and just essentially abusing that massive amount of wave clear. But this is... Again, what I'm talking about is like a couple of Zul patches ago. This is when he was kind of relevant, and there was a major argument to be able to have him on specific battlegrounds. Jay-How, he is I don't want to say he's turned himself into a skeleton, but he's definitely, gone down a lot of nerfs and a lot of struggles here. I love the fact that they're going to go down their own route, but man, this is scary.
But think about this, right? We have Zul. Zul's best asset is a point-and-click lockdown.
2 seconds.
Does take time. And then I look over and I see Leoric, unstoppable. I see Johanna, unstoppable. I see Maiev, well, a lot going on with Maiev. And then Raynor, 6.5 attack range. Good luck getting there. Deckard, he'll just sleep you. Zul he lacks mobility. That's one of the reasons why Zul, at times when he was kind of in the meta, it was lacking the mobility. You have the Medivh. But man, I tell you what, we are getting things started. This is crazy today, man. Let's get into this because game number 1 underway here. No Tomorrow versus Octalysis. I don't even know what to expect from this one, but we've got Casanova, again, moving over to that tank role. He's going to be on the Johanna. Tomster will be on Raynor. Jay Shrite on the Maiev. Jen, again, moving to that side lane. He's going to be on Leoric. But Akaface, of course, on that support role. Nothing else for that guy. He's on Deckard.
Solo warrior here, whether it be the Yrel or the Zul. Interesting composition from Octalysis, where we're going to have Justing on that Zul. Goku playing the Yrel. Draded here will, in fact, be the Medivh player for this roster. Prismaticism, repping on the Tychus, and last up, Whitemane here, played by Buds. So, first thoughts when looking at the composition for Octalysis, they need to snowball the map control into their favor and manipulate a lot of the vision and information onto their side. So anything No Tomorrow can do to slow down that pacing is very important from them. Lockdown already landing there along with the knockback onto Casanova, unable to make it out. Our meta is the meta, is what Octalysis is saying here. 30 seconds into Dragonshire picking up the first blood.
You know, look, I got news for everybody. Call your kids, call your wife, and call your husband, because they're breaking up the meta. And right now, I can tell you one thing. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Like, this is the tip of the iceberg. And how big that iceberg is might depend on how game one goes. But, look, No Tomorrow has all the tools in the world on how to deal with this. There's even a play at level 20 with Raynor getting unstoppable depending on heroic choice. We're watching it all unfold right in front of our very eyes. I've never seen anything like it.
One thing I will say that is very difficult from No Tomorrow's position in this type of battleground and in this type of game when you don't expect this type of draft coming out is it forces you to really understand the major win conditions of every battleground and some of the smaller intricacies. When you hear me go, they don't have to cater to a standard laning matchup in this game, and that they can look for a pressure on the top lane in earlier stages, and that's where they should snowball their advantages. Those kind of very, very small things that you have to identify, and if they are not able to identify that fast enough into the earlier stages, and in my opinion, a lot of it is slowing this game down, not letting the map control get out of control and be comfortable going even as long as they make it post-16 to even footing. And as long as they can identify those things, they very much could make this a problematic composition for Octalysis. But at the same time, how many times have you seen this composition, right? It's very hard to dig deep.
You gotta adapt on the fly.
Your Zul analysis is definitely a bit out of the meta as long as he is.
Well, I will say this as well. When I look at this, the adaptation on the fly, there is one thing that most notably sticks out to me. Johanna was our first death of this game. Johanna has Iron Skin. Why can't you walk away as Johanna? Well, at level 1, you have a talent to reduce the cooldown on your Iron Skin, but we don't see that. We see Laws of Hope picked up, which is a self-heal. So there is adaptations within your own, not even once you get past the draft in your own talents. We don't see that right out of the gate, and whether that repeats itself is yet to be determined, but right out of the gate very much had an effect.
It is a little interesting though, because then it shows that 4 out of the 5 members of No Tomorrow, everybody but the Maiev compositionally wants to be able to take that long sustaining fight except her. Prismat's gonna get the dash in here by himself while the rest of the members making the flank down. They have a portal over the wall. There we see them take it there. Prismat able to make it out. Jay Shrite with the vault has the opportunity to follow up onto the shadow. Will do so. Prismat though stuck in a corner there, eats a punishment. Casanova with the condemned back. Not enough damage coming through on the autos. Shield there from Draded trying to help Buds out, but he will not make it. Justing gets slapped down against the wall, and No Tomorrow here fighting back, gaining their first moment of control on Dragonshire.
Yeah, if you ever wonder what happens when you don't have that mobility, there's answer number 1. As we did see 2 takedowns there by No Tomorrow. So again, fighting back, that's, you know, we got the portal play, we got it over, they got the route onto the Zul, but Prismat was isolated, had already taken too much damage, couldn't follow up there. They just didn't have the pop beyond that.
And JL, that's normally something we look at and we go, you know, a kill into the early game, a little bit of momentum. That's a big problem when looking at this composition. Yeah. This composition needs to, right out the gates, I was talking about how much macro pressure and control that they need, and then abusing the information based on those pressures in the lane. One of the best places to make that happen would be counter initiation over one of those camps, stealing it, gaining the momentum into it, and then again, stacking that lead for them. So all major advantages that this composition, from my first glance at it, is very heavily getting sent against them. And that's, again, those small things if that No Tomorrow should be keeping track of with this comp is they can't early game skirmish. They aren't going to be able to skirmish nearly as well. Macro pressure has to be a thing. So I like the fact that we see No Tomorrow, again, willing to start that off, but I can't help but feel like that was a very bold move by Octalysis, a high-risk, low-reward type trade. Even if they ended up, well, if they win it, they could snowball it, but it's, again, very, very, very scary.
Well, as we resume the action here, of course, with Whitemane and Zul falling, does leave Prismat to defend here against this camp, and this camp it's getting some early game values. We see 1 tower down, likely another. Is Tomster, again, in a... look, man, if anybody's ever heard me, I think Tomster is a wonderful player. Circumstances, I think, have not always been in his favor. And it's been a long time since he's been on the ranged role. He's been in the off lane, he's been support. He's done whatever his team has needed. Now he's back to a role that I would have argued in the early part of his career was definitely one of the more standout roles that we've seen, especially for the newer blood of HGC, but now it's not as new as he used to be. He's more veteran than he is new at this point.
Definitely One of the longer standing names in competitive heroes. We see the Bone Prison come into play onto Jay Shrite throughout mid, but not providing too much kill potential, at least not yet, without Tychus there to be able to abuse the positioning there and kind of exploit the fact that he has that passive. There's very unlikely that you're going to see too many kills coming out from Octalysis with this composition. 4-man rotation for No Tomorrow down to the bottom half, though. Medivh yet to make a full commitment as you see Maiev with that tether pullback. We get the Force of Will coming in onto Budge. Jay Shrite trying to make his way out of here as Tomster is now the focus. And we see the Bone Prison come in and lock down Tomster. As the first kill now here for Octalysis over the skirmish.
Just keep in mind that Zul becomes a lot tankier as this game goes on. Going into the Curse Strikes build, now he has the heal on that. Of course, has the cooldown at level 4. At 13, you start to get the attack speed, things of that nature. And in those fights, you can heal up quite a bit. The one thing on the other side, obviously Johanna has the blind, the Iron Skin to deal with it. As we get our first DK of the game, I was also surprised because we get Backlash, which is damage oriented instead of block. You basically get, you dodged attacks essentially. And we're seeing a change up. It does add to the damage. And speaking of damage, Jay Shrite, that's another kill.
No situation should Team Octalysis be able to have a Dragon Knight split pushing throughout mid with the 2-man defense and be able to get that kill on the bottom half of the battleground wall. At least 2 members of Octalysis showed that they were still there. That was definitely a mispositioning there for Jay Shrite, and this is now giving a huge window for Octalysis in the early stages of the game that I was so concerned with over that bottom skirmish. All of that is now gone, and more importantly, now that structures are opening up, this is what this composition is great at, Jay How, is manipulating the information with that Zul and the clear opportunities in the mid-deep portal for kills. Expects, I would say, a Night Invade or something very aggressive like that from Octalysis once the Dragon Knight phase ends. Cleanse there, almost maybe misused for a moment with Prismat, but...
Yeah, he's like, wait a minute. Oh, wait, you've got that. It's Whitemane, right? So Whitemane has a different cleanse. It's basically a full cleanse, but it adds a stack of Desperation, so it does affect potentially your mana pool. You do get that Unstoppable. Speaking of Unstoppable, the Root's catching Jhin at the end of that. He got the Wraith Walk away, but that thing still is attached to you.
And that's one thing I wanted to bring up a little bit when you're talking about the Backlash opportunity on the Zul pickup at level 1, even though it isn't, I guess I don't even know what is the overall standard at this point in time, but I would say that one of the things with it is it works really great with the Medivh portal. Pop the Shade and then end up taking the aggressive portal, take out 12% of their max HP. Goku taking a pretty big chunk here over this camp, forcing out the Ardent Defender. It's a 2-minute cooldown there, something that No Tomorrow needs to be finding a way to take advantage of over this next Dragon Knight phase that is inevitably spawning over the next minute.
Now we can see the rotation already over to the Knights, and during this rotation we also have the Knight camp that did spawn at the bottom, so see if we get that double camp play coming out from Octalysis. We see No Tomorrow getting their Knight camp as well, which will give some top lane pressure, but really curious because you can actually see Raynor on the mini-map, trying to keep an eye on that, making sure, checking that bush, seeing if anybody is in there, keeping that Raynor's Raider, using that vision of that. Right now they've kept control of this bot lane, but we got Leoric coming down. They're looking for a fight. No Tomorrow is looking for a fight. They're buying time in that top lane with that camp, but
this is really important, though, for No Tomorrow. I feel like it's a great decision that they make this happen. They don't have to all-in commit to this fight. All they need to do is make sure that they're winning with the macro pressure on top and not letting the double camp given up for free. It's a full 5-on-5, ladies and gentlemen, here as we see Jay Shrite is going to go ahead and open up with the containment disc. Polybomb is dropped, actually going to get spread over to Leoric. They're all stuck in a corner, spreading it back and forth. They're trying to get the escape. No Tomorrow now needs to back out of here. Jay Shrite is the first to drop. Wraithwalk is used by Jhin. But my goodness, talk about Polybomb value, Jay How.
Oh, they're going in. They are going in right now. There's a cleanse on to Goku. They get another kill. They're continuing to dive. They have minions starting to make their way in as the Night camps here. That's going to be a triple at the end of this. And Team Octalysis is starting to pick up momentum with this composition that we have no idea its ceiling at this point, but we can start to see it unfold again. Zul gets scarier as they go on. Akapace, he's going to be rooted. Are we going to get a 4th kill? Akapace unable to make it out. Octalysis, oh my goodness, is this really happening?
It's the single target lockdown between the Polybomb, the gap closing there that is provided by the Medivh portal, and the Bone Prison 2-second just you're stuck here having to eat the minigun. It's too much for No Tomorrow to be able to handle at this point in time. And I will say that a lot of this I don't feel is necessarily so much a holy cow, this composition is brand new, as much as it feels like No Tomorrow. These problems would exist no matter what Medivh comp you're playing. They're just not respecting Medivh compositions and how they can play around that portal whatsoever. Akaface, they're being willing to risk that positioning around his own keep. You know, at that point in time, again, it's one of those things that Medivh changes whenever he's on the battleground.
Nice knockback, because you can see the Rainer's Raider might have been able to get into position, but there is a leash range there. Whether it would have got there in time, we're not sure, but still, another plus here for Team Octalis. Bottom 4 already down. Rainer's Raider was just taken down as the DK moves into the mid lane, and here comes another portal.
Jin dropping the Wraith Walk there with the Drain Hope onto the DK.
You mentioned that single target kill lockdown potential. We also have the root coming in from Whitemane at 13. So even if you dodge one root, there could be another one following up right behind that. So you have to be very careful. Ooh.
And two,
maybe not needed there.
Yeah, pretty heavily negated very quickly there. Jay Hao, I've got to ask. You know, Jay Shrite, I feel like, is a player when it comes to the builds more often than not, you know, is got his own style here, but it's mainly the containment disc. I'm a little torn on the containment disc in this type of composition and whether or not is what you kind of expected here, because I guess when I looked at Octalis' composition, the first thing I say is weakness to teamfight, and I don't go isolating any one of them is a major spike within my teamfight composition. I don't know, it just seems like maybe it's a trade-off tool that they maybe want at this point in time. Hold up though, the root lands with the polybomb. Jin trying to kite away. We'll get the Wraith Walk out. 13 talents here finally picked up for No Tomorrow.
Yeah, you know, you bring up a good point, because the containment disc started to become more into the meta around the Clash. We saw Dignitas use it, but it was in a different circumstance, different battleground where rotations might be more heavy. And then Warden's Cage, obviously. We've seen some minor nerfs on Warden's Cage, but we know the impact is there. But then you have to think, is Medivh going to be able to portal in and out of this? So there are some trade-offs. I agree with you. Containment disc, though, where are you going to get the kills? But are you really getting the same thing with Warden's Cage? It's almost like a lose-lose situation. The impact of either against this composition is severely diminished than maybe against other comps.
Yeah, it is kind of a weird trade-off, because Medivh does do such a good job at dealing with both of the heroics that it is kind of a lose-lose scenario in either direction. But one is drastically greater. I guess, you know, you can't make the argument that the containment disc is not going to have as big of an impact. For me, again, a lot of it just came down to where am I going to be able to majorly gain an advantage over Octalis. I go, the macro is pretty darn good. The rotations are going to be a huge advantage. I need to be able to team fight them in the later stages, and containment disc doesn't, again, kind of pack that punch. Maybe if you end up getting it onto an Odin, but it seems like a pretty disengaged type situation if you end up using it there with the Medivh portal and out. Goku, though, maybe cut out for a moment here.
He's prepping those wings. Yeah. He's like, if there's an Entomb coming in, I'm jumping right over. No 16 yet, but now that that camp's picked up and the wave picked up mid, we see Octalis is now at 16. See if they look to take a fight. Instead, they're going to double camp it. You can see Taika's already moving to the bottom, so we're going to have double camp. Zul continuing to push out in that mid lane, and as you said, controlling that rotation. You know, this might be a nice push here in the top lane. This fort is a foregone conclusion, but what are the repercussions, right? Because you get this, you have to back instantly. This is double camp, plus Zul minions, by the way, coming in, eating some of this. I would say eating the ammo, but it doesn't deplete, but it's keeping the other shots away from the minions temporarily.
Yeah, it's definitely setting a huge kind of setback here for No Tomorrow. Now they are looking to be able to get this response on the bottom half. I just feel like that siege for No Tomorrow, if they're going to apply that pressure, needed to be done a long while ago before the 16 window, and their keep is under siege. We see the Iron Skin already dropped there. Bone Prison is going to be used on to Casanova. He will end up surviving. Scroll the ceiling, goes down. Jin moves up, forces out the Wraith Walk already. Man, he gets chunked. Goku comes in with the leap and secures the kill there. And now, No Tomorrow on full retreat.
There's another one.
Goes through onto Casanova. 2 members already down here, Jay Hao.
And it's just continuing. The assault continues. Siege Giants are here. The Odin has expired. They don't have minions, but they're still looking for kills. Jay Shrite, he's trying to play around containment disc. It's going to miss. The vault's going to save him for now, but the keep will not survive. And Octalis is 10 kills to 2 with that camp. Yes, they gave up that top fort, but I would say that was a very favorable exchange in favor of Octalis.
And now No Tomorrow need to find a way to be able to gain the control back. A lot of the compositional fears and advantages are drastically kind of blown out of proportion whenever they lose that bottom keep into their favor. They do have a reasonable amount of clear itself, but they need to find a way to be able to get, in my opinion, probably a containment disc isolation pick or something of the like to be able to redeem some kind of control back onto the battleground. Otherwise, Octalis is just going to keep up what they've been doing so far. Worst case scenario, they end up just backing out, disengaging, waiting for the 20 spike after taking top fort. That's one of the beauties of having Medivh on your team. You pretty much get to choose any and every fight you have.
Well, you mentioned the single target damage. We have amplify damage for Zul picked up at 16, so whenever you do get rooted by that, you have 25% armor reduction for 1.75 seconds. And I believe we saw earlier today Purge the Wicked by Whitemane picked up in EU during one of the earlier matchups, which is another 25 armor reduction. Obviously, there's a cap on armor reduction, but it doesn't stop you from using a root on one. Once that cooldown, that Iron Skin or of the like is down, just double down on it. You have so much single target focus. There's no cleanse with a Deckard, so maybe this is a pseudo Deckard counter the same way that we saw the likes of Dignitas using that Johanna Chromie as most recently at the Clash, things of that nature. So maybe this is a calculated approach, maybe this is an every game approach, but we're going to find out as Odin is here for defense.
Polybomb already going to be dropped. Look at Jay Shrite taking so much damage. Vault already used too. He has to get a full disengage, but Goku's not going to let that happen as he goes through the portal. He eats a containment disc of it. He's going to be just fine. 10 seconds until Ardent Defender is available. Goku, leap number 2 onto Jin. He gets a kill before the Wraith Walk even completes. And now this is going to be just how many victims do No Tomorrow actually have at the end of the skirmish here. Stay a while and listen. Locks down 4.
See how much that buys because Casanova is still holding strong. Akaface, he's stuck. There's a Prismat in his way. Here comes the portal again. Jay Shrite starting to walk away, but he's going to get taken down. Casanova has the Iron Skin. Will it buy enough time? Goku with the leap in. There's going to be the root. Whitemane making the plays, getting the follow-up. Bud says, guys, it's over. It's said and done. Let's go, champ. As they round out this game, they're going to move directly to the core to take game number 1 with a solo Zul tank. Yeah, Yrel's there. But make no mistake about it, that was Justin, the main tank for Octalysis on the Zul.
And even with a extremely offensive support and the fact that we got Whitemane being picked up and, you know, that kind of pseudo-support specialist known as Medivh. Very interesting composition here for Octalysis. And though, Jayhow, I know we started out, we say we, I say it's definitely me. I was very skeptical about how this composition would end up working. I just want to bring it back to light here, ladies and gentlemen, that this is one of our struggling teams here in North America that we've watched this unfold onto. And that I guess what I'm trying to say, it's a fool me once. I want to see if it works here again, because it looks good. But again, I can't help but feel like if the teams looking out for that are going to find a way to be able to deal with it. Either way, though, impressive adaptation here from Octalysis. The execution very much there.
10 kills for Prismat. He was basically served all of those kills up. Look, don't get me wrong, Prismat's a great player, but when you have that much control from your team, that is served up on a silver platter saying, Prismat, here you go. Here's dinner. There's even some leftovers as well. Please don't gorge too much because they just dominated that game. It started out that weird night camp at the bottom.
Yeah.
They went for the invade, didn't have the success, but after that, it was full steam ahead. I never seen anything like it. I'm waiting to see what we have in store.
Yeah.
Justin replied to me. I tweeted out about how we were getting excited today. He had this clever little GIF out there, and then he put enhance, like as in keep your eyeballs peeled for this one.
I don't know how I feel about that. If it gets more wild than a Zul composition here. Again, I feel like it's a little bit difficult to struggle in evaluating it as well, just purely based on the fact that knowing the skill disparity between these teams, and it's the first time we've seen either one of them, right? So it's like, you know, how comfortable, No Tomorrow here, 3 role swaps coming in. Are they dealing with any kind of composition, let alone a Warrior Zul composition with a Medivh kind of interesting 1-4? Like, I don't know. It's very, very difficult, and it makes me, you know, hopeful to be able to see a game number 2. I feel like No Tomorrow just didn't really have the tools necessary in that type of situation to be able to deal with that, and I wonder if they had drafted meta, would No Tomorrow look a little bit better in that game?
Oh, we're going to find out, but we have some words out there in the Twitterverse. You too have the tools available if you want to use that hashtag HGC. But Critic Kitten, is that a solo tank Yrel with a double soaking Zul? All right, then, you have my attention, hashtag HGC. Critic Kitten, you got it backwards. That's a double soaking Yrel with a solo tank Zul. We're breaking the rules here today.
Zul, ever since his wave clear adjustments, he can't compete as much as the double soaker there, but you're right. They did opt more for the Yrel double soak with the Zul, like, I'm a part of the 4-man. I think a lot of that came down to, like, well, if Yrel joins the 4 and Zul's your off clear, how do you ever engage, right? Because you're just going to portal, and she's like, can I slap him with a hammer back? Because that's about all we have for the initiation. The Bone Prison helped made up for that a lot more. Plus, with the off-lane pressure you get from, you know, the skeletons in his passive over the bottom half of the battleground is why we saw that. But it is still really dope what we ended up getting there from all the members of Octalysis. I just don't know, how long do we get it for, you know? And it's like, how long? There's so many questions I have. Like, at this point, I'm just like, let's just see.
Well, let's see.
I'm
Let's see
ready.
where we're going for Battleground number 2 and who's going to take control of this. Octalysis. No Tomorrow opts for first pick, which means that Octalysis, they're taking us to Volskaya. What else? Basically, at this point, it's what's next. What is up your sleeve, Octalysis? They clearly had a strategy that time. Is it a matter of counter-drafting towards a Deckard? Is it a matter of we think this works no matter what? Only time will tell, and as you said, all respect towards No Tomorrow, but they are a team that has been struggling.
Yeah.
They're a team in transition. They still have the talent. It's there. If they get it together in the series, it's great. But we do have to put a buffer on how much impact this will actually have, because for now, game number 1, it happened.
I think it's sad that it kind of goes in both directions, purely based on the fact that this is so early in gauging the power levels since we ended up having that break from the two teams, because it is now this new meta, new mentality Octalysis versus the, again, struggling and trying to find themselves, and now through a huge shift to be able to get that moment of recovery. It is very difficult, again, to identify which one. And for me, I looked at it as, if I was to give a percentage, 25% the composition, 75% No Tomorrow struggling to be able to just deal with Medivh, which should, in the Western scene, Medivh is going to be here. They know how to be able to handle that. So it felt more No Tomorrow trying to find themselves.
What we're going to see as this draft unfolds, we know that at the Western Clash, Draded really stepped up his game. The Medivh Maiev plays as that started to become more meta as teams prepared for the Western Clash. They saw it during scrims, things of that nature. So we definitely saw a shift around those two heroes where we didn't see a lot of it during the first part of Phase 2, but I imagine we'll see a lot more of it going forward. And Octalysis, if Maiev isn't banned in their first pick, are they willing to commit to the likes of a Maiev and around that? But first ban, No Tomorrow is going to take out Diablo.
At this point, I normally would say something along the lines of expecting a high priority into one of the Warriors, mainly the Muradin, because that has been such a go-to for North America. But because Team Octalysis doesn't draft a Warrior so far in the series, I don't know if that's a fair assessment. I will say, if No Tomorrow is concerned with what they just dealt with, two major elements I would take away. Number one, Yrel is a huge enabler to those compositions. Number two, Medivh is a huge enabler to those. I would argue Medivh's a bigger problem out of those two, you know, especially because I would say No Tomorrow's probably more comfortable running the Yrel than they are the Medivh. So that's what I like to see. But the fact that they don't ban it here shows that they've got to at least be comfortable addressing that wild flavor once more.
If this was our meta in every game, I'd probably be like, nah, but since it's like one team coming in with this, like, give me that wild flavor every game. You know I like my wild picks, Dread.
I enjoy them until you go far enough through the tournament to where it starts struggling, and then it's like, is that all we had? That's where I normally go with those. Like, I enjoy the flavor in the moment. Like, I eat it up, right? But then it's like, I always know, but eventually there's a bigger opponent waiting down the line, and I go, I'm not sure it holds up to that. So it'll be interesting to see, though. We get the Yrel taken away. Medivh could be an option for Octalysis. I personally think that if, again, based on this theory of we want the flavor, I would love just Medivh anything in this rotation. I'm ready for it. You want to be really problematic, maybe.
By the way, I don't think Whitemane had a single win in North America yesterday.
No, she didn't, but we
today,
just got one.
We get one.
With, again, without the Warrior. So is that more Medivh, or is that more Yrel, or is that in fact a Whitemane problem, or is that in fact, again, the unique lack of Warrior? We do get the Medivh. So already, if your team No Tomorrow at this point of view, you just go, we have to find a way to be able to deal with this. I think the biggest thing is making sure that you aren't very vulnerable to those kind of dives in the same manner they were in the last game. Malfurion's pretty effective at dealing with that with the root coming out from the portal. Raynor, just a pretty generic top damage dealer within the meta.
But sometimes I have some inside info. I don't know what this draft is evolving into, but I know what it could potentially evolve into, and I'm just...
Is it Cheese City?
Oh, of course.
Is it
of
Swiss?
Course.
Does it have a lot of holes?
There are no holes.
There's no holes. It's just a dense cheese brick.
It's just a matter of how stanky it is.
Like Garganzola.
It's not even stanky. It's like, you got that stanky cheese.
Okay. My goodness, JL here. Teaching us the cheese game, ladies and gentlemen. You know, never did I think I would get up on the panel and be taught how to cheese in Heroes from another commentator.
I mean, I got plenty.
Whitemane banned out. Does that give you any more here?
I can't give away like lead-ins.
I'm
I
just saying,
like leak potential.
You poke the beast, and now I gotta know. Because at this point, Octalysis go I mean, it feels like in any direction with their composition, they have not committed to anything. There's no major holes. I feel like when looking at Urel's composition, or the Urel composition of No Tomorrow, Deckard not moving too heavy here. Probably a slow mage DPS. Nope, back to the Zul game. Here we go.
This is the thing. Zul does struggle until level 7 in sustain points because he does get the cooldown reduction at level 4, which is nice.
Yeah.
It's not until you get the heal at level 7 where your Curse Strikes really feel impactful. It also brings up the how many people are on the front line. I don't think Zul really works. I think you have to have the Medivh. There's no world because Zul just struggles.
Not only does he struggle with survivability, but the entire team would not be able to catch a majority of the 2-second bone prisons because the portal is coming online. So it's like, not only is he helping Zul survive, he is just straight up helping the rest of the team capitalize on what is one of the few longest remaining CCs ever since the, you know, old school stun nerf kind of came in across the board.
Man, I remember that.
Yeah,
like,
0.25
it hit everybody.
Except for like Leap and one other one. I don't remember.
It was just like a full blanket. It was like January or February 2016, never forget.
Last pick, it's Cassia. No primary warrior once again. The Medivh Zul reigns supreme here for Octalysis.
Well, you know, we saw Backlash last time for Zul, which, again, it is a large chunk of damage. That 12% damage is nothing to scoff at when you look at the tanky warriors that we have. Urel and Muradin have very similar health pools, right around the 2,700 plus range on base health. And so it does chunk out a large percent of damage there. But when you have Phoenix and Raynor on the other side, that is double auto attacks. You have a blind from Cassia, which helps. But you do have the ability to dodge basic attacks if you so choose with that level 1 pick. So I am curious if we see any adaptation whatsoever now looking at the other side between two auto attackers.
Yeah, into I believe it's like Shade is the name of it.
Shade.
Yeah, to be able to get the dodge onto the evade on the auto attacks. That is a good point. In this type of situation, I would actually expect that level of an adjustment, even though that got nerfed, you know, time and time again. The only argument, if we do end up so seeing it, I think it has to do with the fact that Medivh enables backlash damage and likely to get the kill, because you get the 25 vulnerability with the 12% mixed with the portal and the portal damage coming out. It's a big burst.
I'm really curious. If you get backlash plus Arcane Explosion with a salvo, you just walk in and Zul, 12% burst damage plus the Arcane Explosion damage. I want to see some health bars.
I don't think you see any health bars after that. That's the problem. You get the scan noise, you get the first 2 pew-pews out of the 5, and then the rest of them just don't even count because you dead.
Backlash again. Who cares about auto attacks? I've got a Deckard, I've got a Medivh. It's fine, I get a shield.
Charge Strikes, the pickup there at level 1 for Cassia. One of the best level 1 talents in the entire game. Probably, we talk about, you know, damage output of Fen being one of the highest, but Charge Strike alone is one of the highest damage outputs just flat out, not only throughout all scaling of the game, but especially when looking at level 1s.
8 full seconds, 20-second cooldown, so not down by that much as Jhin, boy, he's struggling in these early engagements. I mean, the Leoric, obviously, we know is more squishy. Urel will be able to self-heal throughout that, but
JR, that fight, I think, highlighted a very good point of, honestly, really great value that we've seen from Octalysis in the last game and this one, but I didn't realize how successful and good they were, I guess, at it up until that skirmish. And their focus fire is swift.
Yeah.
It's very swift. Notice how every single time somebody gets out of position, they do not waste very much time to be able to get any of the cooldowns on top of it. And I know normally we see, you know, that kind of trade-off. But what I'm trying to say is Octalysis is far more efficient with it. So much so that I feel like a lot of what they're doing and getting away with is purely, it's not the rotations or anything like it. It's just how much pressure they're putting out. And No Tomorrow is not respecting that at all. They're going from, oh, I expect this to be a 50% trade to I'm a 20 to 15, which is a back or a tap. And that is a cooldown that really matters, especially when looking at these lanes. So something that, you know, I want to keep track of as this game moves on, because if No Tomorrow identifies that, they might be able to bait a couple of cooldowns.
Yeah, Nature's Cure in particular, that's a long cooldown when you compare it to the basic abilities of just that Bone Prison. We see the Octalysis spray, obviously the cheer system, fully active out there. You can cheer and obviously get your favorite sprays and in-game goodies. Also, we got cheer bombs available now, Dreadnought, which if you cheer 1,000 bits, you get a couple loot chests, but you also...
spread the love.
8 random people in chat also have a chance for some loot as well, which is pretty neat.
It is pretty neat to be able to spread the love there. You know, party with the friends.
Crowan better be in chat. Much love all around there.
You know, I just strongly suggest everybody ride the Gen G mount along with the Gen G spray because it's beautiful. That's just my current kind of infatuation every time I get into the world of solo queue here. Support camp is going to be contested. 4 versus 5 here. Team Octalysis have 5-man member where Yrel nowhere to be found for a while. Scroll Ceiling's going to lock down 4. A lot of damage there on the Casanova. He has the door toss out, but Jin comes in there with the Yrel, hits the hammer, locking away 4. Bone Prison will lock down him for 2 more seconds. Will the damage be there? The answer is yes. First blood for Octalysis and a support camp behind it.
Everybody put everything that they had into that because both turrets went down in that fight. All the mana, all the health was used. We do have the tap there. Goku coming back. Deckard forced to Hearth back there, but neither team was backing down from that fight. It was a test of will. And again, I go back to your point from game number 1, Dread, where it's been forever since we've seen any type of Zul in the meta.
Yeah.
So it's like understanding your trade and the outcomes of everything. Yes, you experienced it in game 1, but trying to figure out exactly the impact that this style has is uniquely different.
It is. It is. It's very difficult to kind of express. You know, I feel like that's one of the cruxes. Hold up. Justing out a little bit too far. Force of Will and the portal are going to be dropped there. He gets rooted and knocked back by Tomster. But talking about the knockback, Jin finds himself a knockback onto Prisma, forcing him to escape there through the portal. 39% has been obtained here for Octalysis. But now No Tomorrow with a man advantage, looking to move up and pick up some for themselves. What I was going to say, Jay How, is just to highlight some of the difficulties of like conveying, you know, that information to the audience here. Is what I wanted to say is purely off of that top lane fight, and we saw over that support camp that momentum swing. Cassius sat over double everybody else's damage within this game. I cannot highlight how ridiculously strong her early game DPS is or charge strikes is relative to most heroes in the game. She has, I mean, Illidan level of skirmishing trades is starting as early as level 1, and I know I say that as Illidan 4 out of the meta, but I'm talking even old school Illidan where he literally would bully you 1v3. She is trading up so hard here, and it's a large reason that we saw a majority of that percentage, but No Tomorrow with the skirmish, able to fight back here. It's now forcing Octalysis to make another play. It's going to start with Jin here, eating a root.
For now they hold, but there's another fantastic route by Buds as he locks in multiple members, even forcing out that Bionic emitter. That's going to allow No Tomorrow to stay on point, at least momentarily, as that starts to expire. There's going to be another route coming in, buying time as we see the Dwarf toss out. Overtime is now over, and now control trying to be obtained here by Octalysis, and it looks like they might be successful. Indeed they are.
Nobody's making the rotation up towards top, so No Tomorrow will look for a reinitiation now that they've cleared the middle wave. They have the information advantage. Goku unable to land the jet propulsion. Thompson are looking to move up as the root does land there from Akaface. Portal is already going to be taken. 4-man hammer hit there by Jin. As the focus is now going to go on to him. He gets locked down by the root, and that is the kill here for Octalysis. Force of Will used, rated, able to keep himself alive. Goku lands that jet propulsion, and Octalysis pick up the 2 kills and the Protector.
Dread, I am terrified of anything that has a shield on it in this game. I watched Justin get down to about half health, pops that backlash, walks in and says, come at me. And Jin, his health bar exploded. Draded started to fall in the middle of that. He's like, you know what? I got level 7. It's time to explode on somebody. He walks directly into the team fight. I'm like, oh, he might not make it out alive. There's no portal here. And then all of a sudden, pop goes the health bars of No Tomorrow, and Team Octalysis full level lead starting to establish control. We'll have level 10 at the tail end of this. This is full control.
It feels almost, dare I say, combustion-esque on the way that they are approaching this fight with Zul. A lot of the team fight is very much just relying on the shielding mixed with the AoE damage opportunities that they're going to have out there and just waiting until somebody overextends a little bit too much, get the crowd control out, and then just find the kill there. The long sustained fight has just been unwinnable here so far for No Tomorrow. And with the advantages gained through those kills that Octalysis got, they pick up that Protector, and more importantly, the huge advantage and experience after taking out the top 4. This is minimum another 4 on the battleground if Octalysis would like to make it. So we'll see what they end up doing. Support camp, and it looks like, you know, kind of weaponing up here for the next control point is the safer choice for Octalysis.
Well, no combustion.
Sad days.
I mean, you still get that protection, but Ball Lightning, no Valkyrie here. We do see Buds waiting to pick his time. I like the Lornado pickup. Obviously, you're going to wake just about everybody up. You want to try and get into position, but I think their strength really lies in just creating chaos in these team fights. If they can get that type of control, get maybe the disengage if needed, there's so much. And you mentioned that weaponing up. With that 10-tier advantage, it's close for No Tomorrow, but it's not close enough as Octalysis comes in here. They're taking the turret. They are fully weaponized as they start to prepare for the next control point.
It's full death ball here, it feels like, with the composition that Octalysis does have. It's going to be cool to see what use we get out of the Skeletal Mages. I was wondering originally if there was any crowd control and CC that they were looking to try and wear, but hold up. Invade coming here. Outside of Casanova with that Murden Stormbolt, not too many resources available. It's going to be a full 4 versus 4. Look at the 1 versus 1. Jay Shrike versus Justin in the corner. He already popped the Shade. He needs that Force of Will and the portal. He will be able to escape with thanks to that portal again from Draded, but definitely a sketchy moment there for Octalysis.
Yeah, well, Shrite, again, the timing of things, look, we all have internal clocks. Like, you play the game enough in your internal clock, you don't have to know the time. Like, you can tell me, hey, this is 2 seconds. I'm like, okay, well, I just know the way it feels, right? And there's a feel that you have when you play the game enough. But when you don't play against it enough, that root, you could see him start to warp out.
He's struggling to figure out when the end of that weird growl is going to come through on that Bone Prison. Yeah, that should not be happening. I very much
Akaface.
Way out too far there. Great play coming out from Buds with that Lornado. Now Prismat, he is not done yet. Full retreat from No Tomorrow with the Heraldric Cube landing. Will be able to allow No Tomorrow for a free escape, but Octalysis, much like game 1, once they got control, it does not look like they are letting go. Full manipulation here on the battleground. And just looking for picks wherever they can.
I don't know whether I'm seeing the birth of a new meta or just absolute chaos happening. I mean, the threat of a portal is forcing Shrite to warp out. I mean, they don't want anything. Taking a fight under a fort is no problem for Octalysis right now.
It's one of the beauties of Medivh compositions in general, but not even considering the fact that they have Bunker, which is also one of the best diving spells in the entire game. A lot of people underestimate Zul's ability to be able to dive, and understandably so, considering how far out of the meta he is, but also with the Skeletal Mages.
I mean, you killed their minions, and you spawn your own Skeletal minions, and all of a sudden you've got fodder for the fort.
He's literally almost a Nubarak-esque in that. As long as you got a minion wave, he's going to be able to produce enough for himself to be like, well, doesn't really matter. And again, that's not considering the failsafe known as Bunker.
When you say it doesn't really matter, would you say nothing really matters?
Nothing really matters to me, yeah.
Would you say maybe you've sang that song?
Maybe.
As recently as maybe some karaoke in Korea? That's right. I got to hear Dread's singing voice just last weekend.
This is embarrassing. I didn't think I'd be put on blast.
Oh, no, putting on blast would be playing the video that I have on my phone.
Yeah.
Which might air later today.
39% has been picked up here for Octalysis. No Tomorrow, though, as they are rounding the 13, that is when they need to bring the fight. And J-How, if they do not control this point B, or at least gain some kind of minor victory here, we're looking at 16 into 14 window, 2-level advantage with the Protector, minimum keep. It is a big, big problem. This is a massive breaking point for No Tomorrow, and I can't let up. They got to be able to find a way to bring this fight here.
Well, they're going to do it with the Bionic Emitter along with them. 99% is established here. There's going to be the jet propulsion out. Octalysis, they are a full level away from 16. Might be impossible to get that, but we do see Zul on the minimap pushing that bot lane, making sure to get that split lane push. Again, those skeletal defenders, or those skeletal minions that you gather, it just eats so much damage. And if you can get a fort down, something of that nature, I mean, Zul's positioning is even trying to deny experience through that bot lane. See, hey, you want to come through here? I'm just going to bone prison you and walk away. So everything that they're doing is around the map control now as they look to try and get 16 and maybe a pick.
Good attempt there, but Draded eats the Stormbolt. He's going to have to force a will and take the portal out. Jay Shrite ends up throwing it down. That salvo locks down 2. Skeletal Mages is there along with the Bone Prison onto Jay Shrite after the Twilight Dream, but the lockdown is too real here. First member to drop is Phoenix. Jet Propulsion gets interrupted by Tomster. T-God there with that penetrating round, but there comes the portal out. Casanova is now the victim. As you see the root thrown down there, Casanova actually able to keep himself up, and now Prismat needs to kite away. I don't think he can make it out here. Force of will.
He's got the Biotic Emitter.
Medivh in a couple of seconds here.
Dude, as all of them made their way through that portal, it was like a flock of ravens going through there with that level 4 pickup. Speaking of rooted, Ardent Defender, this is a 2-minute cooldown. You have nowhere to retreat to, Jen. You are locked in here. That is another takedown. Team Octalysis' 2-level lead. They're establishing that control. And oh, by the way, they've got themselves another Protector.
I definitely feel like that moment right there is very much the growing pains that we can see from No Tomorrow here with some of the adjustments to try and figure it out there. Because you know the comms were hold on to this with the Ardent Defender as long as we can. Okay, this isn't going to work. Back out. Vin, you know, or sadly ends, or Jin, excuse me, sadly ends up being the victim of that situation. But communication across the board here has definitely been a bit split from No Tomorrow, and now Octalis is here. Pretty much the world is theirs. I will say that this is the second protector from Octalis that I feel like, even though they're being more proactive with this one, I wasn't too impressed with how much they made happen in the last one. And I feel like they could have been a little bit more kind of aggressive with the rotations here this time. By no means are they, you know, kind of playing too passive to set them back, but it's one of those for our international performing teams, how much can we ask of them?
If you get a root from the Protector, look for the portal in. Some type of control. Casanova forced to Dwarf toss out. Again, you have that armor reduction at 16. We saw Zul prep that mid lane, force a response there. Now they've got all these minions here. They've got all kinds of control. They've got 16 talent tier advantage and the threat of a kill to keep about half health. They get it locked down for now, seeing how much more they can get out of this, but No Tomorrow, they're holding their ground for now.
They are holding very, very well here and actually maybe going out a little bit too far. One thing to keep in mind is that this bottom keep is not something they can contest. They can't take fights for a long while. And something that sometimes you'll do as the team kind of aggressing there when you know your objective is getting weak is feigning weakness so that No Tomorrow gets out into a risky position to take a fight, and that is where you get the initiation. For instance, over this turret camp.
Desperate times might call for desperate measures because you will risk that 20 tier fight. No Tomorrow not willing to risk it just now, not quite at 16, so they're going to fall back. They are down 3 levels as well, which is definitely nothing to sneeze at because that amount of scaling between those 3 levels, it's just way too much to overcome, including that 16 tier deficit and a choke point versus a Lornado versus the Skeletal Mages, everything that Octalis can throw at them. It actually terrifies me just to look at it.
It is going to be very difficult, and how to approach these fights for No Tomorrow, or definitely something's got to be able to mix it up. The left to right here are dealing with the Cassia Blind, Zul with the Bone Prison, the Medivh portals, and that's not even counting the scroll ceiling there, and the Lornados thrown out from Buds. I can't help but feel like they've got to find a way to get a flank in some way, shape, or form. Maybe, you know, have Yrel there, Jin, maybe look for a major flank. I say that, but then you see the little Raven hovering above, and you always know, and it's so much more difficult whenever you have pretty much just a free scouting ward above you at all times.
Just if it was a Crow and we've got full Hallow's End. Oh, wait a minute. We're just, you know what? Let's go in for a fight. There's going to be a polymorph. We've got the root. We've got the lockdown on the front side, but that is Ardent Defender out for now. Ball Lightning starting to bounce back and forth, and Jin, he's going to get blown up. Twilight Dream in return, but it's not going to buy enough time as we're going to see another portal. Akaface, he's going to get locked down. This is going to be a double kill, and Thompson trying to hold position, but the slow is there, and Octalis is coming out firing. They said, no need to wait till 20. Let's just come out and see who we can blow up. Right now, they're making that happen easily.
Now they're in a situation where they don't even really have to wait for the minions if they wouldn't like. Justin's going to go back, get the clear, make sure he uses that passive to get as many minions as possible. And Octalis says take advantage here over this bottom keep and the whittling away that they had done before. This will give them the 20 spike. And No Tomorrow cannot stick around this whatsoever. Otherwise, there will be a portal on that back end and an all-in initiation.
He's got that manual portal locked, and that will put the fear in you. I can tell you, Medivh, I mean, that was one thing when I heard from pro players before. It was like, it's almost unfair because you can see and it's like puts the fear in you, right? It's almost unfair that you could see where it's at, but it also instills fear of like, look, he could lock this portal. You could do that anyways, right? But when you have the manual placement at level 1, it's just, do we even dare step forward? And No Tomorrow did not.
Sadly, that question still holds, J-How. Do No Tomorrow step forward? Because control point C without, oh, look at the portal plus the polybomb. Jay Shrite not able to warp out of that one. And Team Octalis using that Medivh portal and getting the all-in initiations here will end up getting that 40-second advantage without Jay Shrite. And inevitably will be minimum this bottom protector. No keep on the bottom half of the battleground. Even if No Tomorrow is split pushing this entire time, they will not be able to confidently pick up 20 and take this fight over that bottom keep. So it feels like this is, you know, maybe the straw that broke the camel's back.
Those Ravens are terrifying. Every time they take that portal through, it is just terrifying to go through. Also, we have healing reduction at level 20 picked up. Akaface, he's stuck in the back line. We do see the polymorph. That's going to lock down one. Get one, take down Prismat, trying to come in to get another, while we do see Malfurion and Raynor both fall. There's another lockdown, the root follow-up, and that is going to be Casanova. 4 members down as Phoenix starts to come up. That's a triple right there. And this is Octalis is just running it.
pretty much doing whatever they want here. And at this point, just waiting out some of the percentage while the rest of the 4 members of Octalysis burn no more time, rid of these minions, convert them over to their side, get rid of the well to make sure those catapults do not get a little distracted. And it looks like this is going to be GG. Game number 1 here on Dragonshire was very dominant, but game number 2, no different. Medivh Zul carrying the show here in impressive fashion. It is not through macro manipulation. It is not through just, again, being so oppressive by painting the battleground red. It is through team fighting and kills that they are bullying No Tomorrow.
So Medivh likely won't get let through the next game because there's no way I let Medivh through for game number 3. Look, at this point, another showing like that, and I'm convinced. Look, yes, we're still trying to keep it all into perspective, but my goodness. If Prismat on Cassia, you mentioned that charge strikes, just destroyed the damage numbers that game.
I am going to proceed to be the negative Nancy on this, and I'm going to highlight the fact that there's a phrase we always say. It is literally the slogan of Medivh, is that he cheats. He breaks the ways and that compositions and things of the game can function. Like, if we had 2 Medivhs, I'm not sure what happens if they go on the same team. Like, do you see what I'm saying in terms of power level of a character? I cannot describe how different of a level of playstyle he provides for the competitive level, and that all of this, you were saying how much hinges on the Medivh. A lot of comps get away with things because of Medivh, is what I'm trying to say here. So I can't help but wonder. I agree. I want to be sold just as much, and I'm like, oh, it's looking better than I thought. But I want to go, again, based on the first thing that we said, is, well, these compositions struggle whenever they get pushed against the wall, and that you need to have a lot of them. Because all this takes right now, bam, Medivh, and your composition falls apart, and a lot of the other things that fall into this playstyle. So what I'm saying is we need more things that replace the Medivh and still creative of a playstyle for me to, again, kind of jump on board at the same level.
I am curious what they do have next, and I think if you're wondering if we get 2 Medivhs, you're wondering, can ADRD play both Abathur and Medivh at the same time? Probably not going to happen. We're going to find out what compositions we have next from Octalysis. If we see if they can take a 3-0, we'll be right back. portaled our way back from the break, and no matter how much Dread's force of will is here to protect us, the cheesy comps are out, Dreadnought.
Not even the Leyline Seal could buy us enough time to be able to retreat from this.
I mean, you just kind of, if you want to make things stop, you just kind of got to poly it in place, maybe sheep it a little.
Lock it in a bone prison, call it a day, because that's what Octalysis is doing, man. It's just ridiculous. How is a Medivh Zul composition just bodying as hard as it is? And is there any way we get Medivh through the next draft? I think that out of everything we've asked throughout the series, that is the biggest question. Is there any world where No Tomorrow risks that after what happened in games 1 and 2?
I mean, there were so many people in game number 1. They saw the Yrel, they saw the Zul, and we thought Zul wouldn't be the main tank, but they looked at it like, are you really telling me this? Is this happening? It really is. But it's time for the next Battleground to see what type of drafts we might see, and that Battleground will be Cursed Hollow, picked up by No Tomorrow. So No Tomorrow, like, look, we're tired of this. We have something maybe up our own sleeves, maybe trying to play around this. We do know this is a map that does cater to Hanzo playstyle to maybe play around the bosses, which can counteract some more macro strategies because it forces the macro style teams to deal with other things on the map instead of just kind of creating their own tempo, their own pace. So for No Tomorrow, we'll see if they've got something that they can make happen, because right now they're down 0-2 in this series.
Yeah, they need something. And normally I'd look at Cursed Hollow as like that's a Battleground where I think some of the strengths versus the weaknesses of the opponent's side, but because Medivh has been such a big element of this draft, I automatically go Cursed Hollow is one of the better Medivh maps. So No Tomorrow, hopefully, has obviously, you know, either got a ban on the Medivh or, again, intend to be able to pick it up for themselves, because I feel like it removes a lot of those strengths. We saw even on a map like Dragonshire, where you wouldn't expect the advantages to be at the spikes where we got from Octalysis, they were able to find that. So I go, normally, Cursed Hollow is not going to build that very aggressive pacing. Suddenly it gets out of control. But with No Tomorrow not being able to identify the tools fast enough, it seems like I'm not confident that I could say that here, even for Cursed Hollow.
I am curious. I mean, Octalysis sit in at 1-2 currently on this Battleground. It was something earlier in the year. We did see different strategies from them. It goes back to before some of the changes, most notably the Lightning Bond change, but it was Rehgar and Greymane. They would just dance around the map, grab a camp, push a lane, and start to take away. But that was also during the days where the fort walls had more experience. Those fort towers were worth far more. So now they're worth significantly less. So that type of playstyle, not necessarily catered to as much, but we do know they have innovated on this Battleground before and just forced you to dance their dance to their tune.
Yeah, and it's a really good point that you kind of bring up is the transfer of the ways that Cursed Hollow is played, depending on really where all the experience can be gained on the Battleground itself. And I feel like now that the changes have come in and so much relies on the back end, I was talking to you about this a little bit yesterday on the ride home, is that the game, in my opinion, has shifted a lot to way back like alpha levels when I played, where the tri-laning is the most dominant way to be able to play the game, because of it's in the long run you need the fort to be able to get the experience. Cursed Hollow is the hardest Battleground. If you struggle in a 1-3-1 and you guess you do not have the winning 3 against your opponent and you guess wrong, you are absolutely losing way more than your opponent. Even when you try and stop the bleeding respawn, you have to trade into them. But the problem is when you trade into them, more often than not, they're gaining advantages in the boss control lane and where you're losing, right? And it creates this very weird mind game. So what I'm trying to highlight is that even though we haven't seen it come to light too much within Cursed Hollow, I think as time goes on, the 1-1-3 and more importantly, that really oppressive tri-lane is going to be a very common go-to strategy. Hammer is one of the heroes that's really good at making that a thing, which is why it's probably going to get banned out. But Medivh is another one that doesn't play to that play style, but he plays to bullying in the rotations. He actually struggles within the 1-3-1 effectively. So it'll be cool to see, you know, if No Tomorrow wants to put high emphasis onto that, because I think it would be in their best interest. A little bit less on the all rotate, pick up a tribute, and far more focus on going, all right, they expect us to tri-lane bot, we're going to tri-lane top, and then look to be really, really problematic in rotations, and then feigning rotations to the tribute.
We know that No Tomorrow and Octalysis have favored Abathur at times. Abathur let through Medivh, most notably here banned by No Tomorrow, not letting that type of strategy through. Dehaka was banned, which makes me wonder, Octalysis, you take away Dehaka sometimes so you get more of an advantage out of the Abathur. One thing that No Tomorrow does have is fine Falstad player in Jay Shrite. It's things that he used to take to the large international events when he was still playing in Brazil for the LATAM teams, and it was the Falstad. I remember him trying to lead the way on the Falstad, so they could always flex over to that if they feel a global is needed.
And the early game pressure that I was talking about with 1-3-1 is only amplified against an Abathur composition. Abathur absolutely struggles against early game split pressure that you're able to apply onto the battleground because the front walls do not hold as much as they used to. It's not as easy to counter him, but it puts more into, again, the consistent tri-lane pressure. But a Diablo, not very good at a 1-3-1. Actually, probably one of the worst warriors you can have in a 1-3-1. And Hanzo, not the best siege either. So this feels like No Tomorrow is very much going that direction and far more to teamfight.
Octalysis ran an Abathur Valeera composition before. We're going to see Yrel with a Thrall. Could be a heavy melee. We know that Thrall has been flexed onto before. And there is something out there. I brought this up a long time ago. Justin is a main tank. He's main tanked during all of his competitive days, except for when he really burst onto the scene. The one hero he used to main, Abathur. He always likes to, he's like, please tell everybody. He's like, did you tell him how many games I had? Whenever I tell him, hey, you know, I told him about the Abathur thing. He used to be an Abathur man. He's like, did you tell him how many games I had? I said, no. He's like, you got to tell him. He's got his main account, 420 games on Abathur. He's left it untouched, and he only plays it on his tournament account now. I just did it because he always asked me to, so it could always be Justin on Abathur.
Always could be. Who knows here? Now that we got the tournament account online, can't ruin that perfect record he's got there. Maiev was the ban in the third ban here for No Tomorrow. Interesting considering their composition does seem to be catering more to that skirmishing and not so much that macro pressure, whereas if Octalysis would pick up the Maiev for themselves, it very much would make their approach very focused on matching them there. And again, I think there is going to be an error here or a hole within the composition on the early game pressure that No Tomorrow is going to want against this Abathur. Raynor will help a little bit when it comes to that. And the support here is Whitemane. Not too shabby when looking at the tri-lane.
So one of the reasons I brought up the Valeera is because Hanzo's vision has been nerfed quite a bit. The range and the duration, obviously, or not the range, but the radius and the duration has been changed a lot. So Valeera can come into this composition. An Abathur Valeera post level 7 especially, if you're out alone, you're probably dead.
You know what playstyle does really well against gank roaming squads?
Sylvanas.
Well, yeah, because of the tri-lane split pressure you put out is so difficult that you have to answer that lane. See, that's why at this point there's no recovery for No Tomorrow, but that's what I was trying to talk about the entirety of this way is, number one, Abathur is weak against that playstyle. The map caters to that playstyle overall, and the Valeera ganking squad, if you do not match into the Valeera and match the rotations again for that team fight, and you just go, we have a better tri-lane, we're gaining more out of these first two tributes than you ever are going to, I never have to be worried about being out alone. Now, I do have to address that team fight, which means I have to move through the fog, which is going to be a Valeera just sitting there with a hat going like, please walk by the shrub. And I just can't, I cannot talk about it enough. If there was a bit more emphasis into that, I feel like it would have been able to drastically help No Tomorrow in this. And now they're a double warrior, double backline with an offensive support that is absolutely going to constantly have to 5-man rotate and match the trade. And to be honest, I'm not sure they win the team fight.
They did pick up the Arthas, which does do well against melee auto attacks. Obviously, that's stacking slow and auto attack slow that he does have around his ability. And we look at the composition, that is full melee on the side of Octalysis. By the way, it is Justin on Thrall, so Thrall main tank this time. It's going to be Draded on the Abathur. A change up in that regard, but still a unique full melee composition. I do wonder how much we'll see maybe the death ball potential of Octalysis to just push down the lane and things of that nature. And there's only one way to find out exactly how that does play out, Dreadnought. That's to go into game number 3.
Let's get it. There is, I'm just going to say it. There is an opportunity in this game, I think that's going to bring to light between the Hanzo control and the lack of macro that I expect No Tomorrow have in this game. There may be a situation, Jayhao, where I would like to see them actually go with the Syndragosa and look to double boss control with the Hanzo racing capabilities and use the Syndra to make sure it's a Sylvanas split push to gain a lot of value out of the objective and then really be oppressive without much control there. I know Syndragosa is a rare word, especially because she got nerfed randomly with no reason whatsoever forever ago. But it's just, I don't see a double melee, even in this situation, able to hold its own, because the difference between Octalysis and No Tomorrow is No Tomorrow has to take those trades. Octalysis doesn't. That's the beauty of Abathur. He is the best at skirmishing in a 5 versus 5, but he never has to fully commit his body, which means he always has a better global advantage than you do.
Ooh, Valeera already is about to scout out Hanzo. Hanzo's in trouble. Hanzo barely made it out alive.
Like, he's tapping, still dealing with the poison, and now he can breathe. But that was tense.
Yeah, and that was already, I mean, we saw Valeera identify that. You've got to use that Wailing Arrow whenever. By the way, I saw the player introductions and Justine's face, and all I could see when I saw his face was Crash Lightning at the top. And it's just like that moment of, yeah, I picked Crash Lightning. That's what I envisioned when I saw that player introduction card.
Why? Well, I guess I can pose it this way. I would argue some of the thought process behind going with that Thunder there and that type of situation is, again, based on the theory of, like, who has to make the rotations to the objective, right? Whenever you have an Abathur composition, this used to be an old C9 classic. I'm talking an old classic for them. Their curse hall go-to was often pick 4 delays and just pick a great Abathur composition, have one good clone, and you just stall out. Thrall is one of the best delayers in itself, and that talent's going to be able to cater to delaying. It makes that playstyle that much better. So now, no tomorrow, between that and the Abathur, and again, how the draft unfolded, they should be very aware of what the problems with this game are going to be. It's just whether or not they can force the fight and then make the rotations effectively afterwards to be able to stop with this composition that Octalysis has.
Yeah, the changes on it, though, have made it more difficult. And I think that when you do have that stall capabilities around that, you don't worry about the minions being there, eating some of those shots. So it does take 30 now, obviously, to get that max value. As Justine comes in, trying to get the stack right away. My only question is, do we get Ancestral Wrath, which is 100% the call, not follow through. If he's going stacking and he's having fun, Maelstrom weapon all day. Never been seen before. Stack your auto attacks. One day, Dreadnought, it will happen and I'll be a happy camper.
Something that maybe hasn't been never seen before, but definitely is not a common eye here at the HGC, is a split-pushing Arthas. Part of the problem of having the double melee composition here for No Tomorrow. Arthas has to be that offlaner. Doesn't have the greatest amount of split pressure into the Abby, who has the opportunity to still pick up the Mule if he considers that a problem at any point in time. We got 12 seconds out from this first tribute, and the burden of, you know, making the play here is very much on No Tomorrow, with the global advantage in favor of Team Octalysis, and the skirmishing and rotation capabilities very much in favor of them. Octalysis will end up picking up their night camp very late, and Buds is not an effective delay target, but Thrall very much is.
It's up to Justine to just find them one other person clumped up near. Doesn't get the bounce there, ends up bouncing. Remember, it has to hit 2 heroes. So getting that bounce off one hero into another is ideal, which is where that poke does come into play. There's a stack. Ooh, that Wolf just off the trajectory. Does increase distance whenever you hit a hero, so each hero that you hit does increase that distance, but just off the mark.
So we noticed the first tribute, not too much contesting from Octalysis, really, when it came down to it. They want to try and stall as long as they possibly can, catch out in the rotations. And Reynor was able to get the split push on the top half. So honestly, No Tomorrow's actually got to be pretty thankful with how that first tribute went down. I figured there would be more delays. Hold up, though. Priz able to join in there, able to get the silence onto Whitemane. Goku trying to keep the aggression there as Akaface healing himself up, and now he's got nothing left here, pulling his way back. Healing up once more. Casanova with that shove. The silence comes in. Prismat needs one more hat if he's going to be able to get the kill, but he's unable to do so. Gets the shield.
Oh,
and
my.
Jin kites away, but they actually keep themselves alive in that quarrel, and I can't help but feel like that's exactly what an Abathur Valeera composition wanted. That's a great sign here for No Tomorrow.
It's a lot easier at level 7 if obviously you have to be on top of them. Whitemane actually had a very decent disengage there. You get bonus damage, but you get shorter range here. So Valeera definitely more powerful in the shorter term impact, and as long as you can stay on that target, that's where the Arthas comes in. If you get one extra step away from that and you get just out of that Q range, then it is much more difficult for Valeera to get that kill. And that was so, again, I've seen so many Whitemane games where I'm like, all right, somebody's dead. All right, somehow they're still alive. All right, somehow they're still alive. Like, that's how I see Whitemane games going, as Akaface escaping the clutches of death.
But Tomorrow, in the downtime, did end up picking up their Giants, sending that up towards top. Giants are going to be matched by Team Octalysis, but with the tribute spawning down below, It's definitely an advantage for No Tomorrow. A big silver lining that they still want here in the early stages against the Abathur composition anytime they can get that off-lane pressure. I was going to pose that there is a counterplay available for No Tomorrow when these tributes spawn, because more often than not, you can expect the Valeera to go to the offlane to look for a gank in the rotation, and you just wait for her to show up and actually just gank the Valeera, much like you would see like in these type of situations.
Yeah.
Not going to get the full initiation.
Justin comes over, continues to stack, sitting at 9 stacks currently. Hanzo, his much easier to complete. Not there yet, only 13 stacks, but looking for opportunities to continue to hit those scatter arrows.
Channel started. Lightning not making it back. Another tribute here for No Tomorrow. Experience, though, not too heavily into their favor. Abathur was able to deal with the Giants pretty effectively on top. The Giants still a problem down below. Good flank here. Ooh. Jin actually checking with the Howling Blast for the anchor rather than the possible team fight. Can't help but feel like there was maybe a gank opportunity there, but no matter what here, No Tomorrow with a pretty easy clear over the Giants, and it finds itself at dead even footing. But the biggest problem when looking at any game with Abathur is if you find yourself at even footing and the earlier stages, as Casanova just gets trapped into a corner there.
And that's 87 souls, Diablo. So it's not like he's super weak at this point, obviously not fully stacked. I don't know if there was any escaping that. Had that gone on any longer and level 10 was picked up, I imagine we'll see 7-sided strike, but curious if we'll get anything outside of that. And it is going to be 7-sided locked in right away.
One of the worst feeling spells into Lightning Breath. Hold on. Shrite eats a 7-sided. Only going to take 2 of those, as that natural agility gets him out. I was going to say Palm, just because even if you save a target, everybody else is dying to it. It just feels so bad. At least with 7, you're like, I can kill him and take no damage.
You got self-sustain as well. I mean, obviously Thrall can keep himself alive. Ancestral Wrath at level 7. Smoke Bomb, obviously, for Valeera. And speaking of Valeera, finds herself a Diablo.
Oh, but maybe not the person she wants to find when she got Thompster there as well. Bit of a split fight. 2-man Howling Blast down below from Jin. Sundering yet to be thrown out. Justin questioning if he wants to use it here into this choke. If he goes for a flank, expect a big one there. Akaface going to get eaten by that lightning. Thrown out once again. Is No Tomorrow here. Need to make something happen. Is Abathur getting that soak up on the top lane? Prismat flanks around, and No Tomorrow look to recollect here and tap. Look at him, just sharking.
I know, I'm just
sharking.
I'm just waiting and watching.
There
Here he comes, Akaface. There's no hat yet. It's much more difficult to get those instant blow-ups without a hat, as now we see the fight raging in, but here comes the Sunder. Jin, he's locked in. There's going to be the army out as well as the Lightning Breath.
They're going to have a huge fight here, and the fact that they didn't actually get that first kill, Derated, the clone, will end up being the member dropping. Akaface will end up starting the channel, picking up what is going to be the curse. And it's very important that No Tomorrow gets a lot of value here out of this curse, because Abathur is still soaking and making stuff happen on other sides of the battleground to make sure that this is not going to get too much done. Getting distracted during a curse, one of the worst things you can do on Curtis Hall, and No Tomorrow now wasting no time. Start the siege here towards bot.
Yeah, they're going to grab the siege camp very, very quickly to try and deal with that push of the minion wave. Also buys them time, as you said. Abathur will try his best to deal with those with the minions in the top and mid lane. It does minimize a lot of damage. Also has Mule available. Shrite finds himself a Valeera. Again, that shorter dash range does leave you more vulnerable to follow up CC as Justin continues to stack 18 stacks on that Crash Lightning.
The siege continues, though, for No Tomorrow throughout mid. Giants are negating the remainder of the curse on the bottom half. Abathur doing his best on top, so Octalis is here, is pretty comfortable with what they've lost during this first curse, as it's only going to be 2 forts and a little bit of experience that Abathur will absolutely be able to help recover as this game moves on. Prismat still waiting there in case any member of No Tomorrow wants to leave the pack. It very much is a, you know, Valeera with a hat composition very much plays like any main predator in a National Geographic documentary. It's just waiting till the weak one walks away from the pack, and that's when she strikes.
I always feel bad when somebody's walking up to a bush. You see like that elk walking near the water, and that alligator is actually just in the water right next to them.
Yeah.
That always makes me sad, and it makes me sad sometimes when I see it in our game.
You're a lot softer on those type of topics than
Nobody likes to see that. I mean, it's natural, right? But it's sad.
Slam comes through from that boss. Flip over from Casanova. Goku actually ends up using the hammer onto Jin. 7-sided strike drops, getting a lot of value there as the Sundering actually used as well. Lightning Breath is going to be dropped. Octalysis here on full retreat for a moment there as they get the knockback into the boss route, into the boss slam. It is not going to get the damage onto Thompson as Goku gets the leap out. Draded is going to be the first to drop, but he is just a clone. Boy, it is tense as everybody falling down to about 10% on Octalysis here. Boss yet to be leashed, J-How.
Yeah, the boss not leashing is a major play.
Thompson got rooted.
Thompson got rooted. That's a big problem. Prismat lurking, trying to get in there. Jin's going to be the first to fall. Goku on point. See if he's got a knockback. Casanova trying to make things happen. That's going to be 3 members down. Akaface trying to survive as he's trying to walk away, but Prismat's right on top of him. That's a 4th. Casanova, will he be the 5th as we see Octalysis starting to take control in that boss fight? And that was almost fool's gold because that boss said, hey, look, I'm still here. No Tomorrow, they got punished.
The start of that fight working so very well for No Tomorrow. The all-in commitment, the Sundering, 7-sided strike being used as Arthas only falls low at the early initiation. That is exactly what you want with an Arthas. Then pop the Death Coil, use the Army of the Dead, restore back to normal, and just go, this fight is 100% ours. The problem was, Octalysis has got a full disengage, and No Tomorrow got greedy. Once those cooldowns were down, not considering the reinitiation capabilities. And more importantly, when anybody sits low, 7-side, or not 7-side, but Karzim and Valera with an Abathur hat are going to do work. Great reinitiation from Octalysis. And now giving them that boss down below. Diablo still ridding of that. It's going to pick up the fort. 15 talents here, top boss pushing. And surely a second tribute here. If it's not the second tribute, it's going to gain a lot on that top boss split push.
Well, it's weird that we find ourselves in this situation. There's a full level lead and then some, but it's 5 kills to 0. Octalysis is looking to extend that lead as we see the Siege Giants picked up to help defend here. But this game is far from over. I mean, this is the second tribute. If they do get the 3rd, which it does seem likely with that 16 talent here, they can do a lot more. If they get kills, that's how they start to snowball. But for now, it's not exactly like things are just busted wide open for Octalysis to just control. It's a matter of 16 talents here, how much do you get off your curse? And if you don't get a keep, it is going to be a long game.
Yeah, I very much agree with you. If that measure is not going to be met, but I do think that Octalysis should be able to reliably get that. I'll tell you this much. If I was in this position, I go Octalysis, I go, we have 1 keep minimum. 2 keeps probable. Yeah. If they really mess up, we just end the game after the first keep and just wipe them. Like, that should be the thought process here. The root with the 7-sided Sundering as well. Dragon Zero locks down 4 members, and Akaface keeping the team alive with the heals. Jin getting a lot of value there with that Frozen Tempest slowing down the members of Octalysis, trying to dive onto the backline. Draded goes down, but that is just a clone. Ardent Defender now is going to be ended. Jay Shrite throwing out the scattering arrows from the wall, and that is going to be the first kill here for No Tomorrow, fighting back in the later stages of this game.
I have no idea how they just lived. That seemed like all she wrote in that fight, and that could have been the major snowball turning point, but somehow No Tomorrow survived in that. Great play. Obviously, they almost got the takedown in the back line, but Akaface, clutch heroic there. Obviously, the nice heal plus the armor, keeping people alive, because even Justin had a great root follow-up in the middle of that.
I would actually argue, I think that they're using 7-sided too early is a lot of the problem here. You can't stack 7-sided and Sundering. Both of those are counter initiation or only in a, you know, when they're used on their own for a major kind of instinctual play. When you see both of those stacks, both of those heroes are very low impact after that moment, and they aren't netting a kill. And then when we look at the targets they're often going for, Arthas down to 20% HP in a fight, and I just popped Army, that's about perfect picture for me. So it's the kill targets mixed with the timing of 7-sided and Sundering. It's not all on, you know, Bud's shoulders, but it very much is between him and Justin here. As another skirmish here, 16 talents here, still an advantage of Octalysis.
Justin at 28 stacks. Obviously, the 30 gives you the priority, but the damage is continuous. As Goku goes in, he's got the Abathur hat. Here comes the Sunder, and there's going to be Rainer. He's somehow surviving, does get the heal. White Mane keeping everybody alive. We see the Lightning Breath in return. But Jin survives, and the Dragon Zero locking down multiple from Octalysis.
The arrow was amazing there from Jay Shrite, clutching it out, dropping more scattering arrows, and picking up 1 more kill here. Bud's trying to pull away. We'll have 1 more Radiant Dash, but Justin leaving him for dead here. 2 members of Octalysis down. No boss available for a few here, but at least 2-2 when looking at those trips.
Yeah, we're 1 minute away from that boss, Dreadnought, and that should give Octalysis enough time to regroup, but No Tomorrow fighting their way back after being down 5 kills to 0, picks up multiple kills over the last minute or so, and now with this, find their way back in. It's 2 tributes to 2. Depending on how the next fight goes,
I'm sorry, I'm so
Dread's
excited.
over here, hand clapping.
This is a perfect situation for No Tomorrow to turn this game. If you look at the minimap right now, they are going to be able to get this pressure towards the top half of the battleground and put it in a lose-lose scenario with a curse point and 50-50 split. Somebody can backdoor this boss if they want. Hanzo would have the opportunity to make that transition now with a warrior tanking it and not get the all-in commitment. If you take that boss and then your opponent trades that for a curse, it's always a huge trade-up. And then if they back out for their curse or for their boss, complete waste of their curse at this point in time. They are not going to make that happen, sadly. But I can't help but feel like some of that thought process would very much be here. It's one of my favorite shot calling moments in all Curse Hall here, but we're going to see the more traditional approach here. Is this curse point for both teams?
Yeah, we'll see. Abathur obviously has significant value in these team fights. Siege Giants will be pushing the entire time bottom. There's going to be the silence on the bottom. Jin, will he be able to survive? He does. Another huge Dragon Arrow is going to land, but the 7-sided strike does complete the takedown onto Arth. This is Draded going in on that clone, trying to get that follow-up. Prismat on the flank as well. Lightning Breath is there, but Prismat comes in, trying to get the takedown.
But he doesn't get the damage.
He's going to be the one that falls.
He doesn't get the damage. Akafe survives 4 for 4 here so far. These teams trying to make it happen here. Goku eats a full scattering arrow there from Jay Sharite. And now Octalis is down an extra member here. Will be able to pick themselves up a curse. Somebody has to do something about this bottom lane as soon as possible. Jay Sharite uses the natural agility over the wall. They want to make something happen.
That just saved him.
But Jayhao, this bottom lane is just going to be left alone. And now that means that this bottom curse does nothing to the boss lane of No Tomorrow.
Yeah, it's double boss pressure. It's a matter of when No Tomorrow decides to back out. Obviously, they want to try and get a keep down, get some pressure in the rest of the map, and it looks like they'll be able to accomplish that here in the mid lane. It's a matter of, do you take keep and instantly go back for the boss and then make double boss play and try and play double keep beyond this? What's the call at this stage of the game when you're starting around 20 with these keeps falling?
I'd be looking for double boss. Double boss is the denial of a win condition with greatly increasing your probability of winning, ensuring a minimum of 2 keeps on your opponent's side. That's outside of any major outlier. Plus, you can demand a lot of the responses here, which is exactly the rotation you see from No Tomorrow. Keep in mind, there's Giants on top. So now if you're No Tomorrow, you start the boss, the last thing you do is be willing to take any team fight. That keep is yours in that top lane in 45 seconds, as long as you can just buy time, buy a little bit of breathing room. If you see somebody respond, force the initiation. Worst case scenario, again, you move on to a double boss play if Octalis backs out.
See if Octalis tries to force a fight before 20. Obviously, the boss is a major play as Goku comes in for the first knockback. There's going to be the cleansing dash available, but Justin, now he's locked in. The Sundering comes out, the Lightning Breath in return. The roots are going to be there. 7-sided strike is there, but the boss is about to get into this fight as he gets the stun onto Buds.
He ends up getting the stun onto Buds as long as Arth is too. Ardent Defender actually popped. Jay Sharite, natural agility over the wall. Vin seems to be the focus there, but Jin actually will keep himself alive. Rainer's Raider going out, doing a lot of damage. The top keep ended up falling here. Now damage onto the core, but Octalis does have a mule. That is not a problem, at least not yet here, Jayhao. But the bosses and the curse that is about to spawn in favor of Octalis' positioning very much is here. No Tomorrow. They get that top keep, but still 20, barely out of grass.
Yeah, 20 tier puts everything in their advantage, in their favor for No Tomorrow, and then they can play. If they do get one boss, you can rest assured it's either bottom keep falling or double boss. So for Team Octalis, I don't know if they can retreat from this. I don't think they can back away from this situation, else they risk just giving up all 3 keeps. They don't have to worry about Tribute and the curse, but their moment to come back is so incredibly small. Octalis, they have to go for it.
I think they know Prismat was there for a moment. They're dropping pings, but he just walked right by him. Jin not going to look for the reveal. Okay, Prismat still left alone here. 20, still out of reach. Boss going to be released. There we see the silence onto Jay Sharite. Sundering going through as well.
Oh my goodness.
Get the pick they need here without the 20 advantage. Jay Sharite, the boss control is down, but catapults are still a problem.
Oh, here we go. We're looking for more of a fight as we see. There's the heroic pop by Akafe. 7-sided strike is melting the health bars, at least temporarily, but Army of the Dead is out. The Lightning Breath, it's got that extended version as we're going to see the clone go down. Valir is going to be the next to fall. And just like that, No Tomorrow regaining control of this. They still have so much control, so much damage potential. Octalis is forced to retreat, but they are buying time towards 20.
But the biggest thing is by killing Jay Sharite, the double boss sphere in this exact situation is gone, at least for a little bit. They are going to deal with one boss pressure onto Octalis in this downtime. It should be reliable for No Tomorrow to pick that up because of the split pressure they have between mid catapults, top catapults, and those giants. But because it's not an immediate boss where, you see Jay Shrite throw out 3 scatter arrows, go thank you.
They're making it.
And walk away here, it is going to be very difficult. So Octalysis, their fight is that top boss, that top defense, but it is not going to be an easy one.
Octalysis knew this. They showed Thrall top, and I'm glad we got an observation of No Tomorrow, because the second that we saw Thrall go to that top lane, show in the top lane, it was a snap rotation for No Tomorrow to come over here towards the boss. Octalysis is preparing for this. They're trying to soak 20, get these lanes pushed out. They also have the Siege Giant that will be defending against the boss. For No Tomorrow, they're posturing up in the bot lane as if they want to make this push in the bot lane to try and take down not just the keep, but maybe the core behind it.
It's one of those situations where they can get away with ending the game here, but they can, I feel like, get away with a safer win condition if they move over to the double boss play with the triple keep pressure. This is very realistic to be able to end this game, but they need a couple of kills because they do not have the best sieging opportunities onto the core itself. If Lightning Breath is used, all the damage out of the double warriors is kind of gone, and then it relies on Raynor because Scatter Arrow is not a range damage dealer. Here we go. The flank is going to be there. Prismat opens up onto Tomster. He actually gets revealed. Pops out the heroic. Look at so much damage on Thunder. Thunder comes through and Akaface goes down.
And now we're looking for more. 7-sided strike got rid of those health bars. Jhin somehow surviving in this, but 2 members are now down on the side of No Tomorrow. Let's make it 3. They are holding right now. Octalysis trying to survive as they take down a 4th member, and that's going to be a 5-man team wipe here for Octalysis to save the game and find their way back in. Dread, there's more going on here.
Diablo is the only guy alive to be able to get the defense. They can get the curse, just pull off a sidewall, take the keep for free, and end the game. There is not very much fear other than making sure this boss doesn't get this keep, ideally so that Mule gains maximum value. Mission check there for Goku. Now the rest of Octalysis can march their way across, pick up the curse, and maximize the value around that. That is clean here from Octalysis.
Whitemane was so close to surviving, but watch the Sunder that comes into the back end. When you don't see the kill completed during that silence, you gotta hit him with that Sunder, and Justine did just that. Once Whitemane is down, she went Scarlet Crusade at 20. That gives you the full team unstoppable. It gives you that extra healing, and it also provides that armor. It would have been such a major defense for them, but instead the priority target, they got it, they got the kill. Now they get the curse, they're gonna take a boss, and this might be the victory push for Octalysis.
So you see Octalysis was unwilling to make the original push to be able to get the side keep in because losing some of their DPS onto the core. So instead is willing to go for starting the boss, trying to maximize as much time with the curse and the boss that they can. This is without a doubt that top keep going down and likely going to be game, because the difference between that boss bottom siege on bottom, number 1, Octalysis got to prep for it. Number 2 is the fact that there's an actual curse going on here, so all damage needs to come out from No Tomorrow. And I think Octalysis may have it in him to call this a GG here.
There was a small little play, Abathur hat. Remember, all minions are reduced to 1 health. So Abathur, we saw on the minimap, that's the joy of seeing the new icon that we get for the hat, just cleared out that top lane by himself. It was the first one on the backside, then the second one, making sure that these minions start to mount up behind this. It's not just the boss, it's the minions. It's also going to be the Siege Giants here. Octalysis is still with 15 seconds on this. They need to get this. There's going to be the dive in by Prismat. No follow-up kill just yet, but Jin's going to be the target.
Yeah, Goku taking a lot of pressure too. Ardent Defender along with the Sundering. A lot of cooldowns burning here for Octalysis, but their boss is still very healthy, Drated. The clone is not going to be able to make it back. Howling Blast lands onto Bud. Boss Slam goes down, forcing retreat for No Tomorrow, but now the boss making its march here to the core. No Tomorrow has to be able to move past if they want to extend the series and hold on. Casanova with the flip there onto Prismat. Boss Slam goes down. The Lightning Breath as well. Shielding on the core is already removed. Prismat gets the heals from Whitemane and actually will be able to heal himself up. And with only 2 members of Octalysis, and they do it dropping here, 20%, 15%.
Goku on core. Goku, 10%. No. He's going to be there. He's going to be flipped out. There's going to be the knockback. Goku trying to survive 5% falling. Goku is going to go down. There's nothing for Abathur to hat. No clone available. That is going to be a 4% core wipe. And now for No Tomorrow, it is time to have their march to the other end of the battleground.
Abathur died to the minions. He could have possibly shielded. I don't know if that exactly would have been 4%, but we need to go back and look at that because Abathur might have had enough damage with another hat rotation, but he died to the minions themselves or something here. Is he died before Yrel, he died before Valeera.
Maybe trying to get a slap.
Or after both of those. What is going on? At the very end there, either way, whether or not he was able to do it or not, the miracle, the back and forth here between these two teams. No Tomorrow, hold on with 4% here and send us to a game number 4.
Well, if you were looking for excitement and entertainment, you have found it here in North America today, because 2 Zul compositions where we had main tank Zul. Now we go into the Abathur Valeera, the insane defense on the side of Octalysis, and then the insane defense back by No Tomorrow. Justin, by the way, 100K damage with that Crash Lightning, which was completed, of course. With that poke damage and the Sunder damage, boy, we are heating up here. And we don't even, I mean, this is appetizer still. Appetizer still, not to take away from these teams. We got our number 1 and number 2 teams later today.
It is a little bit hard, to kind of imagine that, because I came into this series, originally being like, we're going to get things started, all right, then we're going to have the big boys in North America kind of clash it out. And then it's like, well, nope, we're just starting out with tons of fireworks already out the gates here. So it's exciting. I don't know if Tempo's going to be as wild versus Heroes Hearth in terms of meta, but definitely when it comes to the play.
We had Cho'Gall last time they played off, but we actually can take another look at that last part of the game to see the defense here. Dreadnought, I mean, the boss obviously very healthy at this point, at least healthy enough. You can see No Tomorrow's able to hold.
Yeah, and the one thing I wanted to be keeping track of is a lot of to deal with the Abathur, the fact that he's sitting in the mid lane and when he dies. Upon second reflection, I don't think it's going to be too big of a setback here. The biggest focus, from the members of No Tomorrow, focus down to the Valeera first. We get the Kharazim. Now the catapults are starting to get the damage out. We're looking at 15% on it, while Goku is the last man to stand.
Yeah, he gets one on the Goku rotation right now.
So he won't. He was unable to be able to get the hat rotation. I was incorrect. He actually dies last, but he does go down to the minions there in mid. I got the numbers backwards. I was like, if he dies, that might be 1 rotation's worth of damage. But amazing response by No Tomorrow, and a heck of a game.
You trying to tell me that he should have maybe burrowed in and?
No, he did the right thing. Ladies and gentlemen, even Slapathur, it looks cool, and at the end there, it wouldn't have cost them anything. But I have only seen, in my entire time playing Heroes of the Storm, 2 games that an Abathur slap actually had any amount of impact on the end of the game.
I'm curious what we've got next Dreadnought, because
I have no idea.
We're going to Battlefield of Eternity.
Ooh, baby.
That's a No Tomorrow pick. So Octalis is willing to favor that first pick again. Unsuccessful in that last game with that first pick, as No Tomorrow was able to hold on. But we do know this is a battleground that has been picked 3 times by Octalysis, although they do sit at a 1-2 record. When we look at that of No Tomorrow, they're 1-1 on this battleground. And it's always a mixed bag for No Tomorrow. I look down the list of map picks and see if there's any preference or priority at all. There's only 2 battlegrounds No Tomorrow's never picked, and that's Braxis and Tomb of the Spider Queen. And so they're willing to play anywhere. And I think that goes to what their team is. They're still trying to figure out a lot on what they play in. Battlefield of Eternity, we're going to see if they can maybe have some success here.
After the performance we just got from Jay Shrite on the Hanzo, I'm very comfortable with the fact that we're going to Battlefield of Eternity. I mean, he was the MVP in my opinion. He had huge Dragon's Arrows, but it's more importantly the game-changing one that happened the 4-man before that, the time he hit the Dragon's Arrow. It wasn't like oh, hey, look at they're clumped up, I can just smash it, which I felt like later on it was just, look, they're clumped, this is going to be easy value. But he was able to time it around the healing opportunities from the other side to make sure the support could not join into the kill target. It was pretty here for Jay Shrite and friends. No Tomorrow have to keep it up, but one thing we gotta wonder here is will Medivh end up making it through, considering it's BOE based on games 1 and 2?
Yeah, we've seen Hammer banned throughout, and this has been something where we've seen Octalysis run a Hammer Li Ming composition in the past. Obviously, we've seen so many Hammer bans that we have to start looking at other things. But the Hanzo we saw in the last Battleground for the boss control, Hanzo on this Battleground, his insanely high win rate, even beyond any nerfs that we've seen for Hanzo, is still incredibly high just because of his race potential with that scatter arrow build. So see if that does have priority in the draft.
Definitely time being taken here by Octalysis, just considering it's only a first ban. Stick to the standard though. Take out the Hammer. Will we still see any Diablo focus here? No, it's going to be Genji at least for now.
I honestly think, Genji obviously is a strong hero. We saw him basically banned out almost every game, it feels like, especially with double bans at the beginning. But Draded still is one of the most fearsome Genjis that we have in all of North America. We're going to see an Abathur banned by Octalysis, but his KDA on a, we'll say, less superior team during Phase 1, he was like top 5, top 6 in the world in Genji KDA. That's how impactful he was on a team that struggled for success. So definitely
to find the resets.
Yeah, a lot of success on that hero for him individually.
And there's the Medivh ban. Diablo, snap pickup though for Octalysis, not wasting any time. This is one of the battlegrounds where, even though Diablo can gain a lot of value, I look at it and I go, it's one of the best Murdergr battlegrounds. It's one of the few he legitimately caters to the actual map itself. So to see that level of priority, not surprising considering how meta and kind of, high value a lot of people all over the world are putting Diablo. But I look at this and I go, if I'm No Tomorrow, I'm not concerned. We got ourselves a Hanzo. Support or warrior? That is the question. Neither. Gonna go with the Thrall instead.
So the one thing going for No Tomorrow is if they want to run a triple melee, which a Hanzo composition on this, if you can protect the Hanzo and just have the front line solidified, then it does work. We're going to see the Decker there, but Tomster, moving from a range, can always flex back. If we see Shrite on the Hanzo and maybe Tomster on the Thrall, I wouldn't be surprised. And so far, for Octalis' Dreadnought, we're seeing far more meta picks here as the Diablo, Deckard, and Yrel have all been picked up.
A lot of control there for Octalis. I feel like Goku's been very difficult to be able to deal with whenever he gets the Yrel. Some of the better kind of, building the wings, flying in and slapping around with the hammer out of the teams that we've had here at HGC North America. Maiev is that ban for No Tomorrow. They have not committed in any major direction. It'll be interesting as well if Octalis has put any fear into the support warrior choke, considering they have both of theirs and neither here for No Tomorrow. And if so, is that Murden anything to concern with, or is it more into the support avenue?
I like how the votes have shifted so drastically after that last game. We're seeing the white main ban. So No Tomorrow, again, do they want to go triple melee? They have the flexibility with this team to be able to do so. We already have the Thrall locked in. At times, we've seen him in the solo role, but more often than not, it's been that triple melee, especially in North America.
Lots going to be said here by No Tomorrow within their 3-4. Not the phrases I expected to hear, like, let's break it down was not something I thought we were going to endure over this game, but actually give me a moment on this one. I was going to throw out my immediate thoughts, but I need some time to reflect on how I feel about this. We have gotten some Lucio, even Mary Day busting out the Lucio as of late, but he hasn't looked too hot.
Nah, not so much. We're going to get Li Ming Raynor, so very meta this time around. The Li Ming, I was wondering if we'd get Raynor or Phoenix. I think most teams are favoring Raynor at this point, so we still need a warrior. You mentioned the Muradin is available. Casanova, we'll see what he's comfortable with and what he wants to run.
With the Li Ming Raynor, there's not too much prep to the resets themselves, but Lucio is not an effective healer to be able to make that happen. I mean, Muradin seems like it's got to be the go-to. Instead, going to go with the Garrosh here. I can't help but feel like that is something that I would argue is purely responsive of the fact that they have a Lucio, and I feel like it's a little too optimistic in my opinion. Again, not only for the Muradin problems with the battleground itself, Muradin's relative strength overall. I think Garrosh is a warrior that we know is not out of the meta, but definitely he has his problems. He has no gap closer for his arc crowd control. He has all the amazing other tools, but when all the other gap closer warriors were nerfed to the floor, Garrosh looked like this champion among men, right? He had only one warrior to be able to deal with. Now that we're kind of getting back to that level, Garrosh has seen a couple of nerfs kind of coming in and more heroes that can deal with the Garrosh effectively. I don't feel like on a map like Battlefield of Eternity, it's relying on a lot, and he will be able to hold his own better maybe than the Muradin could for the Hanzo sit back and scatter, but again, I have a lot of reserves, I guess, on seeing the Garrosh pick as the last.
It does feel a lot like Protect the Hanzo at this point, the same way that it would be Protect the Hammer. Garrosh can simply throw people away if necessary. Obviously, Diablo on the other side. We'll see how effective he can be getting in. The Lucio, I think, is the biggest question mark for a lot of people because we've already seen it tried by No Tomorrow, and they basically scrapped it and then didn't go forward with it anymore. But it's coming back here again as we head into game number 4 to figure out how all of it will unfold. The Lucio in particular, Dreadnought. Let's break it down.
Let us break it down. Lucio likes to ride walls, ladies and gentlemen. He's very good at that.
You know who likes to slam you into walls?
Diablo. Sadly, beyond the fact that Diablo likes to shove you into walls, that's about the only thing Lucio does better than a majority of other supports anymore, is his ability to ride a wall. He's a lot faster, a lot more skirmishing capabilities with, the passive healing opportunities out of his W, but by no means does he have the same healing as anybody else. He can track down when team fights that you've already won a lot harder in the same mechanics that Medivh can by removing the distance to safety and making your team relative, a lot faster than your opponents. But other than that, I'm struggling to see the argument.
See if Akaface can make a believer out of us. One of the few in North America, I think the only in North America in quite some time that has still run Lucio. There was Sergeant Hammer versus Li Ming earlier today. And I believe it was Nick on Method that for the first time in a long time I saw Seeker picked up at level 7. And Hammer was a target, but Garrosh, I believe, was on the other team. And I was watching Seeker just chunk health because obviously getting that armor comes I don't know the timing exactly, but the Seeker damage is instant, right? So the armor doesn't protect you from that type of burst damage, that instant burst damage. I was watching it chunk down. Obviously, they ended up losing that game, but I don't think it was because of that style of play. But it was very interesting to see it come back in, obviously mostly for the hammer at that point. But it was...
You actually just ruined my evening.
I forgot how much damage it did. Like, it was insane damage.
Just thinking about... that's something I've actually never really taken the time to study is the awareness around Garrosh's armor and the timing upframe of that, right? Compared to like a mosh pit, right? Like for everybody at home, mosh pit isn't a permanent channel. It's a wave, right? That comes out in very small increments, so you can actually like dodge around in between those waves as they pulse out. I've never thought about that. I'm breaking down when the armor comes into play because Seeker is one of the interesting examples of like it's technically 3 forms, but then it's like within one through its talent.
Yeah, I mean, there's I don't want to get too much into it because I know the number. I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but it's like it's basically broken down in frames, very small increments, right, on terms of how stuff is calculated. So that burst damage will always be there, guaranteed, to couple with that before that proc of the armor. And there's certain talents that you can function around that. Obviously, Garrosh's armor is basically calculus in itself. It's like advanced calculus, but...
Yeah. The words effective HP just become your worst nightmare when trying to do anything around him.
Yeah, that's one I don't like to go down to.
No. Yeah.
Can I kill this Garrosh? I don't know.
Well, yeah, if you carry over the 5, you know, no, it's not looking like it. Impaler pick up with a little bit of momentum here for Node tomorrow on the top half, forcing, it looks like a response here from Octalysis. Actually backing out, getting distracted by the Shamans in the downtime. There's going to be time perfect, though, at the 2:30 window, knowing that Shaman's going to be, or excuse me, the Immortals will be up at the 3-minute mark, but Node tomorrow wasting no time, looking to match that for themselves. We do have a slight interesting adjustment when looking at the talents that we're talking about. We don't end up getting the Sapphire at level 1 from Deckard Cain. Field Study was the selection for Buds, so just look for him whenever he gets a massive scroll of ceiling. It's going to empower his damage output. In the later stages of the game, that could be really problematic, especially on Battlefield of Eternity. But I can't help but feel like a lot of that is based on the battleground, ladies and gentlemen, how much time he's going to be able to hang out. Great job by Justin to be able to wear that flip from Casanova.
Casanova hitting the Indomitable right before, too. I mean, that was tank play versus tank play. If we're wondering, is Casanova rusty at all? It is not.
And if you wanted to know, again, the Lucio kind of trade-offs that we were talking about before, where does he come in? Why do we see the Lucio? And then also the Garrosh versus the Murden, you just watch it happen. The minute that you see the amp it up with the movement speed, Garrosh pops Indomitable. He looks like he's mounted. He's just going to run at you and be like, here is my free throw. Here is my, you know, free setup here. That being said, right now, it's okay. But there's a big problem in that combo, Jayhow, and the fact that Lucio has to go with Garrosh. Garrosh is going to live through that. I'm not so sure Akaface will. We'll find out.
That's a matter of, can you interrupt? I mean, that's the one thing about Sound Barrier that has always struggled is if you get the interrupt on Sound Barrier, it does take away a lot of the survivability. There's going to be the stun onto Goku. As we see Octalysis moving through, starting to pull ahead here in this race.
Yeah, but the 1-4 split, if Node tomorrow can zone out a little bit better, it might be able to pay off here. Goku, though, moves up along with Justin. No Shadow Charge. There he goes against the wall. Ends up getting the flip over. Jin will survive for now, though. Race is going to be won on the Immortal by Octalysis. Goku's not done yet, but Akaface amping it up there with the mobility, and Node tomorrow will escape.
I'm like, oh, can they get the chase? No, they can't. They cannot get the chase down. It's almost instant. And Akaface is one of those players. I don't know how many people practice this, right? You know, in scrims and things of that nature on the Lucio. But historically, we have seen Akaface play more of the off-meta heroes at times. So I imagine this is in his repertoire.
And I will say that when it comes to the Lucio itself, on Lucio's initial release, North America was not a very big fan of Lucio. And that
so we showed up to Clash.
He was a lot better than a lot of people gave credit for it. And I will tell you this, he was the only North American support where I was like, Lucio's busted. And he was like, I agree. I think that is at that level. So I know that he has a, you know, kind of an affinity for Lucio a little bit more than your average player. That being said, he knows Lucio is a very different beast as it currently stands. And I guarantee he's not feeling the exact same. But he has more appreciation for the mobility and the advantages and disadvantages that applies than I think most players do.
Octalysis, despite not having a large shield on that, no level 7 yet for Hanzo, so no cooldown reduction on that scatter arrow, so they were able to take down a fort. And getting a fort down with the first Immortal with that low of a shielding is quite nice.
Yeah, it's definitely not something I would ever bank on, that's for sure, because that is a little bit too much free siege, but I guess when we look at the other side, it's who's going to be the man getting the clear, right? Thrall, melee, Blaze, also hybrid melee, not technically full melee. Hanzo has great clear itself, but defensive on the Immortal races, unless you're extremely good at Hanzo, which I would say outside of, you know, maybe the top Korean teams and some of the European and, again, top few North American, very few are good at using those small sidewalls to make sure that they get maximum damage onto the Immortal itself, right, like that.
It's not easy.
No, it isn't. It's very, very difficult, and very few are using kind of the pixel-perfect corners to be able to manipulate the angles like we see out of the Korean region. Because of that, what I'm trying to highlight is the longest version of saying No Tomorrow does not have any Immortal clear, and it's setting them back quite a bit. And part of the reason Octalysis was so successful over that first, and more importantly, why they're going to be in so much control, I guess, looking over the second Immortal.
See Goku just hanging out in the bush. There's no need to show. You oftentimes refer to, you know, keeping information, showing information, or retaining information away from your opponent. And Goku, he's body soaking. I mean, he's not missing soak, but he's keeping No Tomorrow in the guessing game. They have no idea. Is Goku rotating up? Are they trying to maybe get a 5-on-4? I mean, where is that? And when you can keep that information from your team, it forces your opponent to respond differently.
Yeah, all it took was the first time I ever played MVP, and we tried to take a team fight, and we were like, wait, where's the fifth? We don't know where they are. And then we went back and watched the VODs, and he was soaking on bottom, just mounted behind a gate, and it was like, yeah, that was pretty smart. It takes only a couple of times of that happening before you go, all right, information does matter here. At the top level, Jay Shrite moving up, getting the poke out, helping the team win the race for now. Akapace did end up getting a little bit of room with that boop as you see him flying around. There's the amp it up mobility onto Goku. Flip over. Does not be able to get out, but he actually gets the hammer and buys himself a little bit of time. Ends up using the heal too. Goku surviving for now here is Prismat. Just giving it pepper to all the members of No Tomorrow here.
Oh, can he get a takedown? There's going to be the boost away. They're able to get away. Level 10 starting to draw near here for Octalysis. That extra spell power that we saw from Deckard, I think, really came in. I think the first heal came in, but then that scroll hit. He got that bonus spell power, and you could see the impact of that. I really wondered, obviously the Sapphire has so much control, so much playmaking potential individually from the support role, but with the nerf recently to the healing potions, I wondered, would we see this at times? And so we are seeing the field study come into play here, and definitely was felt in that team fight.
And you see it being displayed even within a 7, right? For a little bit kind of different synergy for their composition, looking for even more debuff opportunities onto his opponent, I believe.
Yeah, and then that could very easily pair with the level 16 that we get. And Justine, he's going to go in. Nice boop knockback there by Akapace, making sure to keep Casanova from being flipped back into the team and potentially to his death. So that was a very nice play there. They just now finished the Immortal. Dredid trying to survive. Justine trying to flip it for his team, but there's the sound barrier.
He gets the sound barrier. Stay a while. Listen, though. Dropped by Buds. Tomster has to get himself into the bunker as the Dragon's Arrow was already used. No retreat from that. Octalysis end up losing Buds. They do have themselves that Immortal still spawning. Definitely not going to be as ideal here without Deckard.
There was a lot used there, but that Dragon Arrow again coming through money.
Shout out to Lucio for being able to hit a effective sound barrier in that team fight. I did not know how many of those we would be able to get in this game, but that was well done by Akapace.
Casanova, he's like, I need something. Armor's good, but it might not be enough. And now without Deckard here, it does mean nice knockback there by Prismat on his penetrating round, but without the Deckard there, does kind of keep the reins pulled on Octalysis, but they do get another fort down. Experience not that tremendous, despite only 1 kill on the side of No Tomorrow and 2 forts down. No Tomorrow holding strong.
No Tomorrow is actually going to be able to catch 2 members out, and this is what Akapace and Lucio is very good at, is that kind of chase down opportunity.
I thought we would see the speed boost in there.
I did as well. I actually thought there was no way he didn't at least look for an offensive boop interrupt to the E channel from Goku, but didn't seem like it was at least optimistic enough for him. I feel like a lot of it is due to the minimized damage that they've actually gotten. The only way you get a kill in that type of situation is if somehow they make the mistake of walking right, not down. Either way, it was an opportunity, but one that is now coming past here. Pressure, though, from Octalysis towards the bottom half, and I feel like both these teams are really just going to kind of clean the lanes safely and not in any major power plays and just be waiting out the way. Dragon's Arrow interrupt!
But
nothing matters. Nothing matters here.
Run, Akapace wall ride
He's in hot pursuit,
baby. Here we go. The police. You're not making it out of way. Oh, somebody call a doctor.
Get the corner out here. That was pretty.
Oh my, the guts to pull that off. I mean, there was maybe a quarter of a second left on that channel.
Can we talk about one of the coolest things about what he actually did there? Notice where he shot that from, positionally.
Yeah.
It was, he made sure that it hit that Dragon's Arrow was all in the 3 most probable channels that he backs. If he shoots that to the far to the right, he likely is going to miss that and hit only one of those 3 shoves. But he made sure any one of those channels, if he takes the lazy back, he's going to be hit.
I mean, I would have taken the lazy back.
I would have taken the lazy back too. Nobody expects Jay Shrite to be a monster there onto that Hanzo, but my goodness, he is really putting on a clinic here today.
You sure nobody expected Jay Shrite to be a monster?
You're right. I watched that interview word for word, just saying. Look out for Jay Shrite. That guy can be a monster.
Oh, that brings everything back in experience as No Tomorrow, marginal lead, but that will be made up here momentarily as both teams trying to get 13 as the poke starts to come in. Draded, of course, able to get that Li Ming poke in. It'll be a matter of when Hanzo gets his turn, but Justin, he's getting flipped in. Casanova, Goku jumps in with support, but we've got Jin coming in for the stun.
Two-man taunt there from Casanova as well, forcing out the Ardent Defender and the Bunker Buds. Moving up, 3-man Dragon Arrow does end up landing along with the Earthquake now, and Goku unable to make it out of there. No Ardent Defender available, and Octalis is down a man. Looking to retreat out here. No Tomorrow not looking to let that happen though. 5-man, stay a while and listen. Look at that scroll prep, but I wonder, is anything gonna come of it as the Boss Slam comes in? Ooh. Oh, setting up Draded for almost enough for a reset, but then he gets flipped over there. Thrall ends up dropping here. Octalis is down a member, stay a while, turn around, and set it to even.
Well, they're looking for somebody. They are looking for him. Blaze is caught out. Do they get the interrupt? They do. They find Jin over there. He's gonna go ahead and charge out. This is one of those moments where Jen, it might be better to die quickly.
Actually, it depends.
If you buy time.
If Hanzo can get any damage onto the race, but I don't think he's going to be able to get that as you see the B-steps coming in. And the answer is Hanzo with no split push pressure onto the Immortal yet. Not worth it there. Setting a couple seconds behind. 25 seconds where no Jin is available for No Tomorrow. Octalis is, you know that they want to get a lot of percentage in this downtime.
Ooh, Akafe's just trying to get that boot back into the stun. Just missed there on the Goku. I don't know if there would have been a follow-up, but the threat is very much real each step of the way. There's going to be the Indomitable use by Casanova to walk away from that. Again, without the Blaze here, Team Octalis is able to just walk forward, find their halftime show kicking off.
Defensive posturing here from both teams. Nobody wanting to get too hyphy when it comes to the positioning at this point in time. This is a major breaking point, especially if Octalis has pick up this Immortal after claiming the first 2 for themselves. No fourth still left for No Tomorrow, but No Tomorrow winning the past couple of fights here. Prismat got the poking and prodding flip out onto Jin. Jeff not going to be able to make it out. He cast to drop the bunker. When he gets out, he's just one shot. Sound Barrier is going to be there and actually didn't land onto Jin. Stay a while and listen. Use Casanova trying to find his way out. Indomitable use along with the Dragon's Arrow. Shadow Charge from Justin. Taunt ended up being used, but 2 members of No Tomorrow now are dead. And Octalis get free damage here onto this Immortal.
Dread, that stun was great, but the follow-up and the body block into the Immortal stun forced out that bunker, which is why that went down just before that stun came through. And at that point, again, not getting that timing right, getting out of that bunker for the Sound Barrier, there was no way. It was a matter of time at that point.
Shout out to Lucio and Blaze, though, in that type of situation, because to be honest, I don't think I would have ever been like, yeah, risk getting out of that bunker just so maybe the Sound Barrier hits, because if it does hit, that might have been an opportunity to turn around. And it was a fraction of a second off there, but it does come at the cost. And the cost is going to be a deadly one here, as there is a lot of shielding onto that Immortal. This is minimum probably half a keep at this point in time. I would say very, very likely the entire keep of No Tomorrow going down.
There's so much on Shrite's shoulders to try and get these scatter arrows perfect. He doesn't have to pierce at 16. There's going to be one hitting a couple of those arrows. Again, with the completion of that Echo by Tomster, it has allowed for more poke, but Shrite takes instant damage. Jin goes in, trying to buy time. Bunker down again, but that's already popped, and now here comes the Immortal as the keep starts to fall.
Full 5-man Sound Barrier, but nobody willing to be able to move up past that, and that's a lot of cooldown. 16 talents here will be picked up as this keep ends up dropping. The Immortal is still alive, and Octalis look like they are not going to be able to make their way back to the base. They want to end this game, end this series. Ladies and gentlemen, last game didn't work out as smoothly. We'll see if it does here as they now make their way in, and one-shot Casanova. Lockdown at 3-man Stay a while and listen. Huge amount of resets there from Draded as Jay Shrite ends up using the Dragon's Arrow, but without a responsive kill. Looks like Octalis have what it takes here.
Here we go, 50% and falling. Not enough defense on the side of No Tomorrow. Octalysis is finally going to close this series out and end this series 3-1. And one of the more entertaining series we've had in some time, thanks to Octalysis drafting and the counterplay from No Tomorrow. Again, No Tomorrow held strong, going through some changes of their own, but definitely showing signs of life, but a long way to go. And for Octalysis, look, they said they're coming in playing their own meta. Well, they did just that, except for game number 4. That was pretty standard.
Yeah, that was about the only game we got the normal level play from them, and I feel like now it's just, so many questions based on them, their thought process after getting the success here, whether or not they feel like this is going to be the future direction, right? And then how much of that